Good morning and welcome everyone to the City of Palm Coast Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, September the 21st, 2021. It is, we are in the community wing of the City Hall building and it is now 9 a.m. If you would all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you perform the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Alphen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Branquino.
Right here.
Councilmember Barbosa.
Here.
Councilmember Danko.
Here.
Councilmember Clufus.
Present.
Mayor, all members are present.
Thank you. We will now open the meeting for public comment, and I would, staff has put comment cards near the entry. If anyone would like to put their comment down with a reference so that we can follow up and contact you at a later time, please feel free to do so. It's not required, but it's an option that you have. So if there are any members of the public that would like to step forward at this time and address the City Council, please come forward. You'll each have 3 minutes to discuss the topic that you bring forward.
Morning, Courtney McDonald, Palm Coast. I usually come up here with a local issue that I'm upset about or something that needs to be fixed. This morning is the total opposite. I'm up here to do something that most people in this room would never do. Thank you for sitting in those seats. And thank you for the veterans up there, like Virginia Smith, Mr. Clufus, the city attorney, for staying during every storm when others just said you've either given up or they left. Thank you for being business people during the season and still being up there. Thank you for listening to every resident, no matter their political background, mask belief, religious background, and most importantly, age. Now, as the new mayor with your council next to you, some are well-rounded, well-seasoned people with you. I ask you and your team to be one thing. Please just keep being people, not just an elected official or a number during this season of life that no one ever thought that we would ever have to deal with. Just keep being people to each other, work together no matter what the person next to you thinks while you're up there, and what you think about them personally. And just make Palm Coast the best city it can be, the reason you're up there, and to make residents be proud again, and why you're in those seats, and why my family moved here almost 6 years ago. Thank you.
Well, I thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and council members. I come here too, not to complain, but to praise. We have a beautiful city, and this council, I know it's had its differences, but we still have a beautiful city. And we've had a beautiful city since we started back in 1999 as a city. And as I drove here this morning, I noticed that there is development everywhere we go. So it's going to be doubly hard, triply hard for this council in the future and all future councils to keep this city as beautiful as it was today or 10 years ago. It's going to be difficult. We have in this city a ambiance and a character that drew, I know, me to the city 20 years ago. I knew the first time I visited this city, I wanted to live here, and we did. And I know other people feel the same way. So it's now your responsibility to keep our city as beautiful and as safe and as peaceful and as clean as you possibly can. And that's a big, big job. So I urge you to keep that in mind with your decisions, that people like me, and there's thousands more like me who moved to a beautiful city, want to live in a beautiful city, and plan on staying in this beautiful city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And the next speaker, please.
pretty smart. Robert McDonald, Palm Coast. About a month or so ago, I came to this meeting and I asked who we have to talk to about getting the overgrown trees that are almost down to the ground on Belterre heading south just before the school. And a gentleman came up, and I assumed that he was a city employee. And he told me that he was going to go check it out and cut the trees down if they would necessarily be cut, because the branches are hanging almost down to a dangerous level. Well, that didn't happen. The trees are still there. And I was on Belterre coming south the other night, and this big tractor trailer came rolling down Belterre and clipped them trees. And how those branches never snap, I don't know. But if you're not expecting it, it's going to be a you know what. My second question is, I'd like to know what's going on, since I live in the R section, what's going on Royal Palm between Belterre and Rickenbacker. There's no signs, there's no nothing. And we may have to illuminate the section of Belterre just south of the firehouse where, I'm sorry, north of the firehouse, where you make the left turn onto what we would know as Palm Coast Parkway, I'm sorry, Royal Palm, because if you're not familiar that that little turn is now closed, you know what we're going to have? We're going to have an ocean, you know what? But anyway, my last comment is, unless I was not paying attention last month at the meeting, a couple of residents got up, one gentleman got up about graffiti on the bridges on the canal, and another gentleman got up and spoke about the not passing of the ordinance for code enforcement. And I don't remember the mayor responding back to the residents like the past administrations have done. So if we change the policy, please let me know, because that's why we come here. And that's why we like to get our questions answered. And of course, I have to really apologize to the vice mayor because I didn't smile at him this morning.
Thank you for your comment. Next member, please.
Good morning. My name's Corey Herod. I live over in C-section off of Cimarron. I know we've had many discussions here about the pedestrian access issues on Cimarron Drive. And like I say, we've lived here about 6 years as well. When we first moved here, it was great. And one of the things that drew us here was all the access to the bike paths and the parks and recreation. And over the last 2 years, obviously with COVID, the amount of people that are actually accessing that is like tripled. And one of the things that we need to think about, I guess, basically going forward, is one of the things that drew us to this city basically is its livability and its walkability. And like the gentleman said before, basically, the whole ambiance about living in this city. So one of the things I would ask basically is that you have a very engaged community over off of the Cimarron Drive area. A lot of people have signed up for it. I would ask that you consider going forward basically to look at some options to use us as a beta, if you will, on options to create pedestrian corridors, if you will, in some of these areas. Because I know that we're not unique. There's a lot of places in Palm Coast that suffer from the same problem of access. But one of the things I think going forward that's going to make this city attractive for other people that want to move here is the ability to be able to access those without putting themselves at risk, if you will. Because the amount of traffic and everything else, the growth here has just been phenomenal the last couple of years. And even just on Cimarron, in just a couple of years that we've lived off of it, it's just been an amazing amount of traffic basically that goes there now. But also more amazing is probably the 3 or 4 times more people basically that are accessing it that want to get to the main bike paths. So use this as your beta tester, if you will, for innovative design to create some kind of access. Maybe the next time you do a capital project there, repaving Cimarron, widen it up enough essentially to give some safe access down the sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, and thank you to everyone for the opportunity to speak today regarding the improvements desired for Cimarron Drive. My name is Gwen Christensen, and we live on Crossleaf Court West, just off of Cimarron Drive. Our family moved here within the last year, and we greatly appreciate the over 100 miles of both bike and hiking trails here in the Palm Coast area. We are avid outdoor people, and it is great to jump on trails all the way to Graham Swamp by just pulling out of our driveway. We also attended the August 4th community meeting and were very impressed by the overwhelming community support. It was helpful that the crowd was presented a bike safety session that covered various ways to improve safety on the road, including wearing bike helmets, educating our youth on bike safety, reminders of road rules for bikers and pedestrians. A number of residents shared their concerns and asked for resolution and solutions to the safety of bikers and pedestrians too. There was a discussion of next steps in the process, and although the new signs indicating the motorists to share the road have been put up, it is still a very dangerous road. We were also provided an outline of the next possible steps that I remember included some of these items. A study to discern the possibilities of this road, sidewalks, widening, etc. The council needs to approve the study. I believe that step has been approved. And once the study is completed, then budgets would need to be reviewed and plans for improvements could be scheduled. This is a very short version, and I am sure there are a number of other steps in the process before any changes can occur, but thought it worth mentioning so that the community is kept informed of the next steps in this improvement. I am here today to share a few of our experiences in navigating our bikes on Cimarron Drive. Our family loves to bike, and we often go 10 to 15 miles an outing, but the most dangerous stretch of any of our rides is the ride from Crossview Lane down Cimarron Drive to Palm Harbor Parkway, which is approximately 1 mile. Often the cars have to veer out into the other lane to go past us. Sometimes the bigger trucks' mirrors get dangerously close to hitting us. In fact, our neighbor shared with me that he has been hit not once, not twice, but 3 times while walking on Cimarron Drive. Although sidewalks may not be an option due to the road and swales, but is it being considered to widen the road to allow for bike paths? This would get the bikers and walkers off the street and allow the cars and service trucks to stay in their lanes, and everyone would be much safer. I want to thank everyone on the council and here in the audience today for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing and understanding the next steps in this community safety effort. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, George Mayo, Palm Coast. I know this is not a coordinated effort, but on my way here, I saw that the grass was just cut along Belterre Boulevard, and it's done on a regular basis, and they pick up the litter on a regular basis. And previous 2 speakers said how clean the city is kept, and I just want to reiterate that, not knowing they were going to, but we do keep a clean city. And I hope if any staff cuts are ever made, it's not the Public Works to doing that. And all you have to do is go down to US 1 and look at the center esplanade, how the grass gets cut maybe once every couple months and gets about 3 feet high. So we do a good job, and I think that's what's nice about Palm Coast, and I hope it stays that way. The other thing about Belterre Boulevard, I've noticed an uptick of tractor trailers going from 100 south down to US 1, and I think they're using that as a cut-through. I know some of the everything that they have in the back of the trucks, they're not taking it into the local neighborhoods. So I'm wondering if it's possible to put up a no-through truck signs on each end, make them come up 100 and then down and use US 1. I also think some of them are using it to avoid the way station. So maybe that can be looked into. Another thing I want to know is, I know we have an ordinance against signs put out on the streets, whether it's a garage sale, estate sale, or tag sale or open house or whatever it might be for sale sign. When I go up and down Colbert on the weekends, I don't know if this is county property, county street, but there are a dozen signs going north and south for Marina del Palma. Open house, buy a house, house with a dock, free dock. Now, if signs aren't allowed in the rest of the community, why are they allowed here up and down? I don't think they're any different unless, I guess, like I say, if that's county street, county property, is Marina del Palma part of Palm Coast, or is that unincorporated and part of the county? But if they're part of Palm Coast, why are they allowed to do it and regular homeowners can't? Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any additional? Yes, sir.
Steve Carr, Palm Coast. I know that the city has experienced other residents coming in neighborhoods complaining about speeding within the city and the traffic problems within the city. The neighborhoods they're experiencing speeding endangers the children's health, safety, and cut-through traffic when it gets really terrible on the residential streets is endangering the children's health. Scientific studies show that current pollution meters do not count for the very smallest pollutants, nanoparticles. A team led by immunist expert Peter Barlow has demonstrated that nano-sized particles found in traffic fumes damage the immune system ability to kill viruses and bacteria. We are experiencing a lot of that. That we can look at COVID, it is attacking the immune system also. So scientific studies near roadway pollutant levels show that the concentration of pollutants emitted from vehicles are highest at the roadway and decrease substantially in the first 300 to 500 feet from the roadway. Florida Park Drive homes are 60 feet from the roadway. Children's bedrooms just 60 feet away. Florida Park Drive has 8,400 cars per day, according to FDOT, just 60 feet from children's bedroom, harming children's health with the toxic fumes, toxic brace dust, and toxic tire dust. The basketball courts of Holland Park were moved from the center of the park to within 80 feet of Florida Park Drive. Children's high cardio activity and heavy lung intake of toxic fumes, dust, of 3 million cars per year. Creation Health that is taught at Advent Hospital tells you how important your environment is to your health. That's what we're talking about. Yes, I've heard the naysayers saying my road is just as bad. Well, I say to them, where's the FDOT proof? I know what our road says. I know what FDOT says about our road. It's deceptions of the city, spending money on solutions that do not significantly reduce the volume of traffic, toxic fumes, toxic dust, toxic, and the noise. Just so the city can say we have tried and many years will pass before another fix is ever tried, while children's health is being continually harmed. Why does the city, sad to say, when science tells us what harms children and adults' actions and decisions, say we don't care about a child's health. Convenience for drivers is more important. Residents need to see a written plan with realistic dates being implemented to help this resolve this situation on Florida Park Drive. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment at this time?
Edith Campins. Later on this morning, you're going to be considering a change to some of the rules that govern our neighborhoods. I ask you to really think carefully about what that change could do to our neighborhoods. I've experienced such a change where I came from, and the results were not pretty. It's in human nature to push the envelope. So no matter how carefully you structure a new rule, there will be people who will try and push the envelope. I come from a community where we were involved in a number of lawsuits of people who decided, well, if someone can do this, why can't I do that? It cost our community a great deal of money. It changed the nature of the neighborhood. And when you look at it today, it's really a horrible place anymore. So please consider carefully what changes you may be about to make. Perhaps this is a matter better left to the ballot box, so everyone can chime in and tell you what they think about the proposed change. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to come forward and comment at this time? Please come forward.
Good morning. The waddle's just going to get worse over the next couple months. Anna Maria Long, Executive Officer, Flagler Home Builders Association. Keeping it super brief on the same matter of commercial vehicles allowed in driveways. I ask you to end the elitist mentality and allow the people who pay their taxes and own homes or rent homes for exorbitant prices to not have to leave their home to go to a place to get their work vehicle to come back. You'll be glad when your air conditioning gets fixed faster, or your refrigerator gets repaired quicker, you can do laundry faster. In addition, I know that a lot of the lots that rent space to these commercial vehicles, these commercial companies, that people have to go and retrieve the vehicle from, they're taking up land that I have members who want to purchase the land and build on it, and instead it's just being taken up by rentals that could otherwise be parked where the person using it lives. So just a consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doyle Lewis. I've been in business since I've been in high school. Multiple businesses. I'm here to speak on the commercial vehicles because of one reason only. I love residential areas for a reason. We have commercial areas for a reason. We have warehouse areas for a reason. Everyone who's been in business would know economics. Anybody studied economics? To get something, you have to take it from somebody else. Usually you have to pay for it. That's economics. You have to have numbers matching for the IRS. That's economics. My name is Doyle Lewis, and a simple rule changed will change the entire town. It'll change the entire county. Take it in very important, imperative decision-making with the commercial vehicles and the signs. Because there's all types now. There are lighted signs, there's huge signs, there's computer-rated signs that will lock onto your network of your home. Any businessman would know that the best way to have a commercial vehicle and to keep it around Florida in the saltwater is to keep it inside. If it's small enough to go into a garage, just put it in your garage. Nobody can complain about it. It is a parked vehicle. They don't have to look at it in a residence. I've been in business my entire life, and this is a control issue, and I think the residents of Palm Coast and Volusia County and Flagler County should have the same ordinances throughout this area. Commercial signs should not be parked in front of houses in your own driveway because it's a distraction. It's an eyesore. It goes against every single architectural, scientific color of a neighborhood to keep it residential. The entire reason why this is in place is so it doesn't become a big city with all the lights flashing. Again, my name is Doyle Lewis, and I've been homeless for 10 years by control freaks. So I would not pass or change your ordinance. Keep it a residential area so the larger trucks can't go through there too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there another member of the public that would like to step forward and make comment at this time?
My name is Tony Ezel. I live at number 1 Clarendon Court here in Palm Coast. I gave the lady a letter from True Green. I hope you all have it, copy of it, of a problem I'm having in my swale in my front yard, and I'm asking you for your help. The problem was caused by a former neighbor who was a supervisor with the city of Palm Coast. I have requested, I called the city because they put decorative rock in the swale, which prevents the water from flowing through. The city allowed the gentleman to just put turf out over this, and now my water problem, as you see from the letter, is getting out of hand. I'm growing weeds, etc. I've talked to the stormwater on numerous occasions. The stormwater finally told me after about 5 calls that I would need to talk to code enforcement. I did so on 5/6 of this year, spoke to Eve. Eventually, I just happened to be looking out my front door one day, and I saw a Palm Coast truck out. I walked out. I asked the gentleman who he was. He said he was John with code enforcement, and just about that time, my neighbor started screaming at me because he said he was tired of me turning in, trying to get something done about his swale. John told me he was a friend of the former resident there, and he told me that in his opinion there was nothing wrong, although it's apparent just by visual that the swale in their yard is much higher than the swale in my yard, where the water has to flow through his swale to exit and get out of the property. Mr. John told me that there was regulations stating about the amount of rainfall, and said that there were days that you could leave water in these swales, but I'm having water that stays in there almost permanently and is killing my grass, and I would request that somebody would help me out, because I think the city is going to get a black eye if it's shown that personnel that works for the city has favoritism. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment at this time. Thank you. I will make a comment. Mr. McDonald asked a question. It is my personal policy that when asked questions from the podium during public comment, I will most often defer to our interim city manager. And the reason for that is so that a carefully prepared, correct, and complete answer to the issue is provided to the resident. But rest assured, we will follow up with every single comment that is made. I will also say that if there is a city council member who chooses or requests to answer a question at the conclusion of public comment, please let me know and feel free to respond to the public. That will be fine. So with that said, did you care to respond to?
I just wanted to comment on Mr. Ezell's problem. I've known him for a few years now, and he contacted me about the water in his swales. Before those rocks were put in by his neighbor, he didn't have that problem. And I've been to his house on many occasions. Now there's a problem there. I don't know if that's the exact cause of it. I'm not a swale person, but I'd like our city manager to get in touch with Mr. Ezell and see if we can get someone out there and find out if those rocks are actually the cause of
Good
the
enough,
problem.
and we will defer those comments for follow-up by the city manager's
Yeah,
office.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. And I just had one point of order. I just want to, my understanding.
Let me just finish the public comment, and then we'll get
sure.
there. Were there any other comments from council addressing the public today?
I don't have a comment. I just have something to say that it's on public participation item 2 that apparently it was an oversight, but that 2 people that spoke about items in the agenda and they're not supposed to. So like I did when I was sitting on your seat, sir, they were not allowed to speak again regarding the matters. I could tell.
So I appreciate that. I did refer to the city attorney, so it can be at our discretion. So
Is it?
It is. So I do understand it, and I know that was the procedure followed in the past, but we did check. But I appreciate your pointing that out.
Change
Very
this
good.
over here, sir.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. So 1 second. So that will close our public participation. You had a comment,
Actually,
Councilman
the
Danko?
same as Councilman Burkino's. I was just curious about the agenda thing because it's actually,
Right.
it is written. But your discretion, have at it. That's good.
Very good.
And I think Councilman Barboza has a question.
Okay.
Some of the comments on commercial vehicles, I think people are a little confused on this. We're not trying to change anything with the vehicles. These are vehicles that are already allowed.
Councilman, if I may, and I don't mean to interrupt, but
I'll do it
we
later.
do have an agenda item, and I think for the benefit of the public, if we consolidate those comments into one discussion, I think that would be appropriate. Is that all right with you? No problem. Very good.
Mr. Mayor, if I could address a couple of the concerns, I would remind the council and the public that we certainly have rules of procedure and policy that have been approved pursuant to resolution. We also have custom that are not incorporated specifically into the rules of procedure. And it has been the custom in the past of other chair people of this council to address the citizen comments in various ways. I would tell the council that there are certain agenda items that it would be legally inappropriate to have citizen comments other than during that agenda item. For example, if you're doing rezoning and you're having quasi-judicial matters, those would be absolutely, all those comments need to be put on the record during that agenda item. I believe the concern here was there were a couple comments that were made regarding a matter on the agenda dealing with commercial vehicles. And that is not quasi-judicial. It is not a final decision. It is simply a discussion item for today. And the members of the public certainly will have the ability to participate during that agenda item. But because it is not quasi-judicial, there would be some discretion afforded to the chairperson about when those comments could be received.
Very good. Thank you. All right, so we'll close this section, and I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the meetings held on September the 7th, special budget workshop, September 7th, special business meeting, September 9th, special budget hearing, and September the 14th, which was a workshop. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Yep, seconded.
And second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda will be our proclamations. The first proclamation, Vice Mayor Branchino, if you would be so kind. Thank you.
Sir, my pleasure. I would like to call Anthony Duncan, city animal
once again, forgive me, those who are behind me. Mayor, allow me to stand sideways. Let me start by saying that I'm proud of you. Proud of you. Okay? Let's that be. Today, we would like to recognize a Good Samaritan, Mr. Anthony Duncan, who contacted law enforcement on July 28 after witnessing an unsafe situation. In a parking lot of Harbor Freight in Palm Coast, Mr. Duncan heard animal cries coming from the back of a large U-Haul truck. 17 dogs, puppies, and cats were found in the back of a U-Haul, severely dehydrated and without proper airflow. Without immediate care, these animals would have had not survived. Palm Coast Animal Control arrived and immediately began to care for the animals, getting them water and bringing them into the air conditioning area. They took them to Animal Hospital for veterinarian care and then worked tirelessly, not only to find safe shelters for the animals, but to find shelters specific to the breeds of the animals to ensure that the animals receive the proper care going forward. Today, I'd like to recognize Mr. Anthony Duncan, as well as the Palm Coast Animal Control officers who went above and beyond to save this 17 pets. The City of Palm Coast Animal Control officers who work to save these animals are Heather Prestap, Chief Rich, I hope I'm saying your name correct, Patrick Arena, and Rich Sangala. Thank you for your efforts, and my friends, in my opinion, you are Palm Coast. You represent Palm Coast. Sorry to get emotional, but I'm an animal lover, so therefore you are heroes in my opinion. Okay? And you represent Palm Coast in my books. Couldn't ask for any better. Keep up the good work, and it will be my pleasure, trust me, my pleasure to give you these certificates. Mr. Anthony Duncan will give me the honor. Okay, in a minute, if you want to say a word, you more than I don't. Thank you. Heather, there you are. Patrick. Last but not least, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Once again, we're heroes. Absolutely. You don't mind if you do. Please. You want to get a little closer to the podium? You got my colleagues.
Anthony, get this bump. Great job.
Thanks. He needs to be in the middle. We were just doing our job.
Just come one down. Very good. Thank you, guys.
Right over here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, you make us very proud. Thank you.
I'm sorry I got emotional, but
Next item on the agenda is a presentation for employee recognition. If you would begin.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Thank you for allowing me to take this time this morning to recognize our employees. With the help of our communications team and our BAM team, we have been able to enhance our employee recognition program. And so in the video that you're about to see, you will hear our directors recognize and show their gratitude to our employees.
Hi, I'm Steve Flanagan, Palm Coast Utility Director. I would like to take a moment to recognize Stephen Morgan, John Woodward, and Harley Skripinski. Stephen went above and beyond to help a resident after they were involved in a car accident and became unconscious. Stephen helped the driver out of the vehicle and stayed with him until emergency services arrived. John and Harley recently had stellar reviews from residents who said that they both were kind, courteous, and went the extra mile to help them solve an issue. I would also like to recognize the employees who recently worked with the City of Flagler Beach to develop a water treatment and plant operations training course to offer educational classes to those interested in the career field. Thank you to all again, and keep up the great work.
My name is Cynthia Schweers. I'm the Director of Citizen Engagement. I would like to recognize Rebecca Sanders, Pam Miller, and Cindy Cherry-Concalves, who recently received stellar reviews from our residents, going above and beyond to helping them resolve their issues. Thank you for all you do, and keep up the great work.
Hi, my name is Doug Akins, Director of Information Technology. I would like to take a moment to recognize the entire IT department who recently hosted a technology summit and showcased all of the hard work and innovative projects they're working on to better serve our residents. Thank you to everyone for all of your hard work and dedication.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown, Parks and Recreation Supervisor. I would like to take a moment to recognize Wayne Douglas, James Hurst, and Jared Dawson. Wayne and James recently went above and beyond to help a Palm Coast citizen who had a flat tire. Even though car repairs are not in their job description, they did their best to help the resident get back on the road safely. Jared Dawson recently attended the annual Florida Recreation and Park Association Conference, where he talked to Parks and Rec divisions from across the state about our very successful esports program. Thank you to all three of you, and keep up the great work.
Hi, I'm Matt Mansell, the Director of Public Works. I would like to recognize Derek Conklin for the extra effort he put in to remove graffiti from our street signs. This is no easy task, and Derek went above and beyond to make sure that the signs were back to looking good as new. So thank you, Derek. I also want to recognize the entire Public Works Department for their tremendous work in hosting an outstanding Touch a Truck event. This event featured over 30 vehicles from multiple agencies and was a great time for residents of all ages. So thank you, and keep up the great work.
With that, I just want to say on behalf of our interim city manager, all the directors, and all the supervisors, we appreciate all our employees for all they do and their commitment to the city.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and I would like to see us continue these announcements. I think it's important that our residents, members of the public who come to visit with us, and all of those residents of the city of Palm Coast know just how great, how genuine, how hardworking our staff is. There are so many of them that it's nice to pick out a few, and there'll be a few more after that, because there are many, many, many that deserve this honor and this credit. So appreciate that very, very much. Any comment by City Council at this time?
Very nice presentation.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Our final proclamation is the Red Army.
Pink Army.
Pink Army.
Army. Oh, boy.
Red.
So for those of you that were falling asleep, I've got everybody's attention now with that little misstep, and for others that don't know that I really am colorblind, but Yes, for the Pink Army, but thank you. Before I begin with the proclamation, I want everyone to know that Advent Health is the best possible partner our community could ever have. It's the best we have known, the best we have, and we're looking forward to even more and bigger things literally coming out of the ground as we speak. So it is my honor to offer the proclamation, and I will read it as follows. Whereas breast cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in women, with an estimate of 281,550 new cases of invasive cancer are expected in women this year, and 2,650 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in men, ranking it second among all cancer deaths. And whereas only 1 in 8 women diagnosed with breast cancer have a family history, and 85% have no family history, with an increase in incident rates since 1990 being predominantly in women 50 years or older. And whereas early detection with timely screening, mammograms, has helped to boost the breast cancer survivor rate to more than 2.6 million in the United States, also resulting in a 40% decline in mortalities since 1989, with women under 50 seeing an even larger decrease due to early screening and detection. And whereas Padma Saib, MD, with Florida Cancer Specialists and Research Institute, has been a dedicated, compassionate, and decorated soldier of Advent Health's Pink Army, as she's tirelessly treated and cared for thousands of breast cancer patients in the city of Palm Coast for 15 years with innovative therapies such as immunotherapy and access to groundbreaking clinical trials. And whereas Advent Health Palm Coast's Pink Army, with the support of the city of Palm Coast and our community, has distributed over $150,000, helped over 600 patients, and performed hundreds of procedures in direct support to Flagler County men and women dealing with breast cancer. And whereas the city of Palm Coast is joining Advent Health in the Food Truck Tuesday event and our virtual Pink on Parade 5K on October the 10th. Fundraising efforts stay local and include, but are not limited to, early detection screenings, wellness and lifestyle resources, and survivorship education programs to support those impacted by breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Palm Coast Mayor and City Council hereby proclaim October 2021 as Raise the Pink Flag with the Pink Army Month in support of breast cancer awareness, and encourage all women to pursue early breast cancer screening and other possible diagnostic services to avoid becoming one of the nation's mortalities. I congratulate you all. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wally Diaquino, Chief Operating Officer. I am here with Kathy Gover, Chief Nursing Officer, and we're representing the executive team from Advent Health Palm Coast. We are extremely thankful for the City of Palm Coast and always willing to partner with us during the Pink Army campaign. It is vital that we continue to spread the word and explain the importance of early detection and screening. And your partnership allows us to do so. Today, Food Truck Tuesday? Food Truck Tuesday. We are kicking off this campaign, and we're extremely excited about it. We hope that next year we can do an in-person 5K, but today we're going to do it the way we have to. And we are excited to start this today, and we invite our entire community to join us this afternoon. Thank you.
Like to
So, hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm here representing Dr. Tsai on her behalf and the entire team of Florida Cancer Specialists. I'm proud to represent everyone this morning, and we are so excited to be a part of Advent Health's Army in the fight against breast cancer. And we're here with you all every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess they got me to clean up. My name is Tony Papandri. I'm chairman of the Advent Health Palm Coast Foundation. And it's nice to have October come back around because Palm Coast turns pink. You know, you talk about all the numbers and the people who get breast cancer and the people who are cured of breast cancer. This year alone, we have treated 16 women with over 20 procedures. And Pink Army and we save lives. But you know, all those numbers, they're just numbers unless that number is one. And that one is your wife, your daughter, your mother, your husband, because we're all susceptible to breast cancer. So the work that we do, we actually save lives. I'd like to thank the corporations in Palm Coast who have partnered with us. iFish Flagler, the Florida Palm Coast Clubs, Chick-fil-A, and Glam Studios, who put on events and support us. And most of all, I'd like to thank you for your support, your friendship, and your partnership over the years. Thank you.
Mrs. Silvers, would you just come up and recognize, identify each member of your army? Oh. Public knows who you all are, if you would be so kind.
Everybody knows Charlie Erickson, ex-commissioner of Flagler County. He has been our official scorekeeper over the years. And again, I'm John Subers. Tony Papandri, our chairman of the board. Nancy Nelson works with me in the foundation office, and our Army goes much deeper than this group. Our true Army is Elaine Gonzalez. She is everywhere with Pink. Nancy Gover, already Chief Nursing Officer. Ann Maria with the Home Builders Association, and we mentioned the iFish Flagger, which is October 2nd, and the Pink Army is the beneficiary again this year. So come out and fish our local ponds or our local intercoastal. Jared Dawson, been a wonderful partner of Advent Health and all the things that Jared and Kim Brown do with the Parks Recreation. What great partners. And our 5K, our Pink Army 5K that we've done for 10 or 15 years is on hold because of virtual, but we hope to bring it back. Kay Simpkin, again with Florida Cancer Specialists, and Dr. Tsai, wonderful partners. And those are the people that are touching our patients every day. And certainly Wally Diaquino, our Chief Operating Officer.
While you're getting ready for the picture, I just want to add, thank you, Pink Army. Thank you very much. And even though I'm biased regarding Advent Health, thank you for doing a good job. And Mr. Aquino, may I say something that you'll recognize? Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry.
Right. Okay, everybody look right here. 1, 2, 3. I got it. Do you want to come over here?
Yeah, sure. All right, get that zoom all figured out. All right, everybody right here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Not a bunch of heroes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so emotional. Next item on the agenda will be the first read of Ordinance number 5. If you would, Mr. Reichman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance amending Section 10.02 of the Unified Land Development Code. It's an ordinance of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, amending the city's Unified Land Development Code, amending Section 10.02 floodplain management of Chapter 10, environmental and cultural resource protection to meet federal requirements. amending Section 14.02 glossary to add, revise, and delete definitions relating to floodplain terminology, providing for applicability, severability, codification for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, City Council members. Good evening. Ray Tyner, Deputy Chief Development Officer, and next to me is our environmental planner, Jordan Myers. You did hear this at your last workshop, this item. Since this is a first public hearing for this ordinance for changing the Land Development Code, Ms. Myers will give the staff presentation.
Good morning. I'll just go through the same exact presentation you saw at the last workshop. Feel free, if you have any questions, interrupt me. So again, the background for this is the city is going through our 3-year audit for the community rating system. We were informed by our auditors that in order to retain our Class 4 designation, we did have to make some changes to our land development code in 10.02 specifically, floodplain management. We are currently one of only 2, I have to confirm 3 cities that with a Class 4 designation. And there's only one Florida city with a Class 3 designation. Community Rating System, or CRS, is part of the National Flood Insurance Program. And us holding a Class 4 designation allows our residents up to a 30% discount on their flood insurance if they live in a special flood hazard area, or a 10% discount if they live in not a special flood hazard area. We did some outreach. The draft ordinance was approved by our reviewers and auditors. It was also stated by the State Floodplain Manager's Office. They have reviewed it and will approve it after it is approved by our City Council. Emails were sent out to local stakeholders twice, and it was also posted on the city website twice. We're going to go into the proposed changes. So for this proposed change, it's referring to flood zone A, which doesn't have a base flood elevation. This portion is basically saying we're taking away the size element and just saying that any property that falls within an unnumbered A zone will have to establish a base flood elevation. Some more proposed changes. Again, this refers to the base flood elevation shall be determined using site-specific floodplain study by a professional engineer using detailed methods. So we're just providing a little bit of clarity in that portion. And then this is referring to basically elevation certificates. The certification of the lowest floor prepared by a sealed by a state licensed surveyor. So that's just ensuring that the finished floor elevation is at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. So we have that 1 foot of what's called freeboard. This again is flood zone A areas. This is actually talking about manufactured homes, and I mentioned at our last workshop that these changes were specifically requested by the State Floodplain Manager's Office. Another one here, they just want the manufactured housings to meet the same requirements as regular single-family duplex or regular built houses. So this section is being entirely taken out per the State Floodplain Manager's Office, and we will renumber accordingly, as with this portion. And then this is referring to critical facilities, so that would be hospitals, police stations, anything like that, that they will be permitted, but they will have to go through FEMA first to get that approval from FEMA that they are no longer in a special flood hazard area. This is the addition to the glossary, providing detail on detailed methods. It's just providing some clarification on how base flood elevations should be determined. And then these are deletions per the State Floodplain Manager's Office, referring to the manufactured home portions of the code that they are requesting to move. The Planning Board voted 7-0 that City Council should approve this, and planning staff concurs with that. And the second reading will be on 10/5. Any questions?
Okay, that concludes your presentation for the
Yes.
moment. And it's my understanding that staff has approved and your planning board has also approved prior to it coming to council.
Yes, that is
on
correct.
the changes that have been requested by the state.
Some of them are from the State Floodplain Manager's Office, and some of them are for our reviewers for the community rating system to ensure that we retain our Class 4.
Okay. So I would ask city council members, questions or comments at this time before I open up for public comment?
I would just like to say thank you to your team and all the hard work that you guys put in to keep our community rating system at a level where a lot of citizens benefit from your hard work without even necessarily understanding what goes into it. So thank you for being the hero behind the scenes that keep our insurance rate lower than other cities in the state. Thank you.
Any other comment?
Great presentation.
And if you could just state again the potential savings on insurance policies. When would that be realized, or when can that be realized?
When you sign up for your flood insurance policy, it'll be a 30% discount if you live in a special flood hazard area, or up to a 10% discount if you don't live in a special flood hazard area.
Immediately?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Okay. With that, I will open up for public comment. Would any members of the public like to step forward and comment on this this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close public comment and come back to the city council.
Make a motion to approve it.
Seconded.
Second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion
Unanimous.
passes 5-0.
Very good. Item number 6 on the agenda, ordinance. Mr. Reichman, please.
Yes, this is a amendment to our procurement policy. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, repealing and replacing Chapter 2, Article 1, Division 3, Purchases and Contractual Services, Sections 224 through 231 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Palm Coast. This ordinance provides for severability, codification for conflicts, and provides for an effective date.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. I'm Casey Lutke, Procurement Coordinator, and this morning I will be presenting proposed procurement ordinance changes. The current procurement thresholds for the City of Palm Coast were originally adopted in 2002 and then revised in 2017. However, we have not had any significant changes related to procurement thresholds. That is why today we're proposing updates to our current thresholds. We expect the proposed threshold changes to increase process efficiency and will fall more in line with comparable municipalities in Florida. As part of the ERP mapping and research, the Government Finance Officers Association, also known as GFOA, has provided some research data to support process improvements in our procurement thresholds. After researching multiple municipalities of comparable size and structure in Florida, the GFOA determined that procurement thresholds are less restrictive than the City of Palm Coast. Upon completion of an internal review of purchasing procedures, we developed these proposed changes by reviewing comparable municipalities' procurement thresholds, the size of our budget, and number of purchases the City of Palm Coast makes. We concluded the following threshold amount for continued efficiency. These items are only for purchases that do not currently have a master agreement or contract. The City of Palm Coast current ordinance states that a $3,000 purchase limit requires one informal quote. We are requesting an ordinance revision to increase that threshold to $4,999. Additionally, current ordinance states that a $30,000 limit requires council approval. We are requesting an ordinance revision to increase that threshold to $50,000. The GFOA reviewed purchase orders from October 2020 to March 2021 and found that the $3,000 threshold category makes up 43% of our purchase orders, totaling 476 requisitions valued at $1.3 million. The $30,000 threshold category makes up about 5%, or 54 purchase orders for formal projects valued at $2.2 million. Both of these proposed changes will reduce administrative time with requisition approvals or requisition changes, resulting in a reduced timeline for operations to obtain purchase orders and contracts. Additionally, the proposed changes will reduce the need to formally bid lower cost items, altogether expecting increased response time for increased services that serve our population. Additionally, we have proposed changes that reflect current staff titles and department division name changes. Emergency purchases will be submitted to City Council on a monthly basis versus the next council meeting after the emergency. Sole source purchases will be submitted to City Council on a monthly basis versus quarterly. The procurement team has also collaborated with legal to improve our bid protest procedure for process clarity, including who, when, and how a bid protest can occur. Finally, we have an addition of a public-private partnership requirements to ensure compliance with Florida Statute 255.065. Pending any questions, that will conclude the presentation.
Thank you. So let's start with City Council. Councilman Danko, you have a comment.
I just have a question on the 30,000 versus 50,000. The 30,000 makes up what percentage?
5%.
5%?
Yes, sir.
As opposed to the 3,000, 5,000, which makes up a larger percentage,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we're only talking 5% on the 30,000. That's not a lot. I'm in favor of the 3,000 to 5,000, but I am opposed to changing the 30,000 to the 50,000. I think that's something we should keep here up at council. Thank you.
Councilman Barbosa.
I also think the 30,000 is fine. It worked in the past. I don't see a reason to change it.
Councilman Clufus, comment?
First, thank you for the presentation. I can only speak from my historical time on the council where the purchases, and I'm in agreement that the $3,000 limit should be raised, but I'm also in agreement that the $30,000 limit should be raised, and here's why. Over the past 5 years, there has not been a single consent item that has been between $30,000 to $50,000 that the council has pulled from the consent agenda and had debate about, and let alone deny that sole purchase. And it just seems to be more efficient. And in my head, as we get larger, we're going to have more procurement requests come through. So the scalability of this process is either, it's one of two things. We either add additional full-time employees to this process, or we come up with ways to streamline this process. And I understand the prudency from our newer council members on the $30,000 threshold, but from my experience, we've had nothing that would warrant any type of questioning in that price range. Historically, these are things like $35,000 reverse osmosis membranes for the water utility or sludge removal. These aren't things that are infrastructure related or city related. Those items are much higher in costs, and those require some type of debate or constructive conversation. So I appreciate the presentation, and I support both of these increases.
Council Vice Mayor Branchino.
I just want to start by saying that I completely trust our procurement and financial departments. I agree with the 3,000 informal requests to go from 3,000 to 4,000. And just let me remind of something. Not long ago, we almost had an irresponsible disaster over a $35,000 contract with a maintenance firm to keep our fiber optics going. That could have been a disaster. So I trust you. I think that we should go up to the $50,000. And by that, we avoided what could be a disaster. Trust me when I'm telling you, could have been a disaster. Thank you. That's it, John.
So before public comment, I did spend some time with our city auditors to confirm that the checks and balances are well in place to monitor transactions of any size, whether they be 30,000 or 50,000. The key buzzwords I hear in the presentation is efficiency and time savings. I will always fall on the side of finding ways to save budget monies in the future. So we've had this discussion. I think that this alone may not save us a significant amount of money in the budget, but initiatives like this will come together and help us create leaner and leaner budgets for the future. So that's my comment. I'm okay with increasing the threshold, noting that the checks and balances by our auditors are in place. And that's not a question of trust for me. That's just a matter of good accounting and good business, which we try to do here at the City of Palm Coast every day. With that said, I would open up for public comment at this time. Would any member of the public like to come forward and address this issue? Seeing none, I will close public comment. I'll come back to
I'll
city.
move to approve the boat thresholds.
Seconded.
Second. So we have a motion and we have a second.
Well, it really should be a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance.
So could you restate?
Should be a motion to approve the ordinance on first
For the
reading.
ordinance, of course.
Thank you.
Of
Just
course.
want to make sure the record.
Thank you. Thank you.
Still second, yeah.
And a second to the, okay. Now back to City Councilman, discussion. We have a motion and a second.
I just want to say that this is not a question of trust or any such thing, but Ronald Reagan had a great expression, trust but verify. And to me, this is just a question of council being able to verify, for us not to give up part of our responsibility. And that's all this is to me. It's not a question of trusting anyone, that works for our city. I want to make that clear.
Are there any other points of discussion? So with that, we'll call a vote. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbosa,
Nay.
Councilmember, I'm sorry, Nay?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Danko,
No.
Councilmember Clufus,
Affirmative.
Mayor Alphen.
Yes.
Passes 3-2.
Next item, number 7.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City of Council, the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the City of Palm Coast 2035 Comprehensive Plan as previously amended. This is pursuant to Section Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, and it's amending the future land use map, or FLUM, FLUM designation for 70.2 acres more or less of certain real property for mixed use to residential as described in more detail in the legal description, which is an exhibit to this ordinance. Adding a note on the future land use map to limit the subject property to the maximum of 227 dwelling units for the subject parcel, providing for conflicts, ratification of prior acts, codification, severability, and for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, Council, this is a legislative matter. This is not a quasi-judicial matter.
Thank you, Mr. Reichman.
Thank you, City Council members. Again, Deputy Chief Development Officer Ray Tyner. If we don't mind, Mayor, items number 7 and 8 are one presentation we are prepared to do. We had the first one on item 7, the future land use, and then number 8 is a companion application for the rezoning of the property. We have one presentation.
Just ask City Council, Mr. Tyner is going to combine the presentation on the two items because they're closely related. Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mayor, members of City Council. Jose Papa for the Community Development Department. What we have before us today are two applications, a future land use map amendment and a zoning map amendment for a parcel that's approximately 70 acres, currently vacant. It's located about 2.5 miles south of State Road 100 on the east side of Seminole Woods Boulevard, south of Citation Boulevard. For the future land use map amendment, currently what you see is that the subject property is designated as mixed use. It can have a combination of residential and commercial uses on it. The applicant is proposing to change this mixed use to residential, along with a site-specific policy to limit the development on that site to 227 dwelling units. Currently, its zoning is master plan development, as you can see marked in blue. And the proposal here is to change that master plan development to a single-family residential zoning. For the future land use map amendment, we conducted a public facilities impact analysis whereby you compare the proposed future land use map designation with the current future land use map designation and find the net difference between proposed and current and see what the impacts are on public facilities. Under the proposed future land use map designation, which has that limit of limiting development to 227 dwelling units, you can see in red on this spreadsheet is that there is a decrease in the demand on all the different public facilities, from transportation to water, sewer, and solid waste. Again, that's a comparison of the limit of 227 dwelling units versus not having a limit under mixed use of 1,053 potential dwelling units. For the environmental impact analysis, the proposed amendment will not have any additional impact since the subject property is already designated as a developable area. It contains a land use designation of mixed use, which allows for its development. The main change here is that it's going to go to residential and will limit development to residential uses on that property. Its consistency with surrounding land uses. The proposed designation of residential is consistent with the existing neighborhoods to the west, which is Grand Landings, to the south, which is designated as Greenbelt with an Estate 1 designation, and to the east, although to the east is an FPL easement stormwater facility. Beyond that, it is a single-family residential neighborhood. There are commercial uses to the north, mixed-use commercial parcels, and those will remain, and this development will likely be complementary to create a need for those mixed-use commercial parcels to the north. Looking at consistency with the comprehensive plan policies, again, this site is adjacent to an existing major arterial and existing water and sewer service. There is also, it is consistent with objectives and policies in the comprehensive plan to diversify our housing types, prices, and opportunities. As a new residential development such as this, carved out from a reserved parcel, that type of development is able to provide sidewalks and private amenities where our existing ITT lots, as we know, have certain restrictions in terms of the amenities that can be provided on it. And there is a demand for that within, or there is a market for that type of new development. So under its findings, there is no significant impact on level of service for public infrastructure, no impact on environmental conditions. It's generally consistent with the surrounding land uses and consistent with the comprehensive plan. This item was presented to the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board at their August meeting, and they found this application to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommends that City Council approve the Flume Amendment from mixed use to residential, as well as adding a site-specific policy to limit development on the subject property to 227 dwelling units. So for the zoning map amendment, again, its current designation is master plan development. There is no development agreement to determine what the permitted uses are within that site. It was basically without a development agreement. So the proposed change to that will identify that those uses will now be limited to single-family residential units. As an SFR1, you have a minimum lot size of 50 by 120, 6,000 square feet. Those are the lot sizes that you'll find within this development. Looking at the criteria in the Land Development Code for this proposed zoning map amendment, we find the application to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Again, consistent with policies that direct development to infrastructure availability, expanding those urban uses where infrastructure is available, and consistent with policies to diversify housing types, prices, and opportunities. There's no additional impact on the natural environment or public facilities, and we expect no negative impact on the economy other than the job opportunities remain during the construction phase of this development. And additionally, again, that change will likely create a demand for additional commercial uses in the adjacent areas where you do still have commercial zoning. Any changes in circumstances or conditions, there are no changes. The proposed change reflects the market demand for more residential development in the city. Its compatibility with proximate uses and development patterns, again, the surrounding areas are mainly developed with residential uses, and so it'd be consistent with areas to the west, south, and east. And does it accomplish a legitimate public purpose? Again, it provides for opportunities for housing diversity, again, consistent with our comprehensive plan. So the recommendation, again, at the same time, the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board held a public hearing on this item. They received no comments from the public, and they approved this application unanimously, and they find it to be consistent with a comprehensive plan, and recommends that City Council approve the rezoning of the 70 acres from master plan development to single-family residential zoning district. If approved today, this item, the future land use map amendment, will be transmitted to the state agencies for their review and comment. And after their comment is received, after 30 days, there will be a second reading for the flume and zoning map amendment, followed by eventually a subdivision master plan or plat for the item. And at this time, the applicant is here to present or to answer questions.
Does the applicant have a presentation or just questions?
I do have a quick presentation.
Please.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here, for listening to the application. Let me
And
just first
just state your name for the record for us, please.
Walter Douglas Property and Development. It's always a pleasure working with planning staff. Couldn't ask for a more responsive group of professionals to get us through this process. And with that said, I think Mr. Papa did a pretty thorough presentation, so I do have one. But we can actually go to the final slide in the interest of your time. And it's just a visual representation. It's a graph, Mr. Papa. It's got a bar chart on it. And basically it shows you visually, okay, this is what we're entitled for, the 1,000 or so units. And this is what we like to entitle, 227 units. And you can see, if you look at the top figure, the average daily trips, that's a reduction, pretty substantial reduction, and that's just looking at traffic. That's not looking at, other public services or school impacts. So I think it's a pretty substantial reduction on the burden the city would have to bear if this thing was built to what was entitled. That's really all I have to add, so happy to answer any other questions.
While the applicant is at the podium, are there any questions from city council members?
I like the fact that you guys are saving the commercial property and, changing it from multi-apartments or more units to less units is a good thing. Thank you.
Other comments?
Nope, I think this slide in particular summarizes exactly what we're looking at.
And if I could just piggyback on Councilman. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Gotta give me the high side. Please proceed.
Mr. Douglas, for a developer, you made me a happy man today. And thanks for the much needed low density projects. Thank you very much, sir.
Does that conclude your comment?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Now I don't apologize.
Learner. Just to piggyback on what Councilman Barbosa said, that in addition to the commercial opportunity, you feel that the additional rooftops will be a magnet for additional commercial opportunity as well in the area?
That's exactly right. And this property has been sitting here with this entitlement for about almost 20 years or so now, and it hasn't moved with that entitlement on it. So I think in order to get it into production and to increase some demand for commercial in the area, if we want residents there, it needs to be single family. So you're absolutely right. More rooftops right here. Rooftops at all will result in some commercial demand for the area.
Very good. And the last thank you for your presentation. The last comment I would make is that we talked about trust and having confidence in staff, and again, as presented by Mr. Papa, the staff has approved, and the planning board has also approved the project unanimously. But with that, I will now open up the item for public comment. Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward and comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment. I will come back to City Council.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Do we,
Approving
what,
7 and 8?
Yes.
Or just-
No, we are just approving the one agenda item, which is the future land use map amendment. We will be having a separate discussion and opening it to the public on that agenda item after we are done with this one.
Very good.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Does the clerk have that?
Yes.
Are there any other discussion at this time? Then I would go ahead and call for a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbosa,
Yes.
Councilmember Danko,
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus,
Affirmative.
Mayor Alphen.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, Mr. Reichman, now we move to the other ordinance?
We do. Now we're moving to the corresponding application for rezoning. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code, amending the zoning designation for approximately 70.2 acres, more or less, from Master Plan Development, or MPD, to Single Family Residential 1, or SFR1. The subject property is more particularly described in Exhibit A and graphically depicted in Exhibit B. This ordinance provides for severability for conflicts for non-codification, provides for an effective date. And Mr. Mayor, Council, this is rezoning, so it's quasi-judicial. So at the outset of this, if there have been any ex parte communications prior to this public hearing this morning, those should be disclosed at this time.
None.
None.
And none for me as well. Just for information, so the ordinance that you just read does not change the presentation that
No,
we
there
just
will,
saw.
as
This
I
is
understand,
the
the staff.
administrative piece of it.
Correct. There is nothing new from the staff, but this should be open to the public,
Right.
public, and then come back to the council for action.
Just so the public understands. So now, any discussion on city council?
No.
None.
Then I would open this item as required for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to step forward and comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment, come back for discussion at city council.
I'll make
Any
a
last
motion to
comments?
pass it.
I'll second it.
Motion, second, for approval.
Is it said the right way for you?
That's fine.
Very good. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbosa,
Yes.
Councilmember Danko,
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus, Mayor Alphen.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda, number 9, second read, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is another quasi-judicial matter. This is second read. This is an ordinance, let me get to it. Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. We're amending the official zoning map for 52.4 more or less acres of certain real property described as tax parcel ID number 2011-314001034040, located on the east side of Old Kings Road, about 1.5 miles south of Palm Coast Parkway, more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A. From the General Office, or OFC2 zoning district, to the High Intensity Commercial, or COM3, plus Preservation, PRS, and Public, Semi-Public, PSP, zoning districts, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Mayor, Council, this is the second read of this quasi-judicial matter. If there have been any ex parte communications between the first reading and the first public hearing and today's public hearing, those should be disclosed at this time.
Any council members?
None.
No. Okay.
Mayor, City Council, this was heard at the September 7th meeting. You recall this is a project, a rezoning from office to high-intensity commercial on the east side of Old Kings Road. We have nothing to add. Nothing was changed of our last public hearing. City staff is here for any questions, as well as the applicant is here as well.
So I would ask City Council, any refresher questions from the last presentation while we have Mr. Tyner?
No, just a comment. I think they're building a nursery on there. It's going to be pretty nice to see a nursery on the way to City Hall.
Thank you. Any other comments? So at this time, I would open the discussion for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment, come back to City Council. Any last discussion, comments, questions?
Making a motion to approve.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve and a second. Any other discussion by City Council? Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbosa,
Yes.
Councilmember Danko,
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus,
Affirmative.
Mayor Alphen.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda, under resolutions, Mr. Reichman.
I believe we're on agenda item H10, which is an
I'm
ordinance.
sorry.
That's okay. And it's Seminole Point rezoning, Mr. Mayor. So if I could read the title to this ordinance for second read. Ordinance of the City Council, City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for an amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. It's amending the official zoning map for 71.74 more or less acres of certain real property described as tax parcel ID numbers 311231 5371 500020, 311231 5371 500030, and 311231 5371 500041. This property is located on the north side of the intersection between US Highway 1 and Seminole Wood Boulevard, and more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A, from the Master Plan Development MPD and General Commercial COM 2 zoning districts to the Multifamily Residential 2 or MFR2 and High Intensity Commercial COM 3 zoning districts. It's providing for conflicts, for severability, and providing for an effective date. Again, this is the second read, Mr. Mayor, Council, of this quasi-judicial matter, so if there have been any ex-parte communications since the time of that first read and public hearing to today's hearing, those should be disclosed at this time.
Mr. Reichman, you have more than 3 minutes to read those if you desire.
I appreciate that.
Are there any ex parte?
For the reasons established by me priorly and on record, I hereby recuse myself from voting on this matter. Thank you, sir.
As previously indicated in first reading, and you'll get with the city clerk and provide out the necessary form consistent with Florida statutes.
And on record, yes.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Before we go to public, any comments, questions from City Council at this time?
Yeah, although this was a very nice project, I just I can't agree with changing commercial into residential. That's it. There you go.
Any other comments? So I will turn the item over for public comment now. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward and comment on this item? Seeing none, I will return to City Council. Any final discussion?
No. I'll move approval.
I'm sorry?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion on the item? No discussion. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho has declared a conflict and therefore will not vote. Councilmember Barbosa?
Nay.
Councilmember Danko?
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus?
Affirmative.
Mayor Alpin?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Reichman.
Yes, this is a corresponding, I believe, resolution for a termination of the Seminole Point MPD. And the title is as follows: a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, terminating the 2011 Seminole Point Master Plan Development Agreement, providing for severability conflicts, providing for implementing actions, and providing for an effective date. Again, this is corresponding to the last quasi-judicial matter, and as such also can be deemed quasi-judicial. So if there have been any ex-parte communications with regard to this agenda item, those should be disclosed at this time.
For the same reasons, I will recuse myself, sir.
Thank you, City. Thank you, council members. Yeah, this is pretty much a cleanup item. Typically, our attorneys would want for the public record to do a resolution to clean up the record that the previously existing master plan development rezoning no longer exists. And this is, all this action is making it go bye-bye for forever, and it'll be part of the public record.
So it's a paperwork item to keep your
Yes, sir.
files straight. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tyner at this time?
None.
With that, I'll turn it over for public comment. Any members of the public would like to step forward and make comment at this time, please do. Seeing none, I will close public comment and return to City Council. Any last discussion, questions? With that, I will ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho has declared a conflict, therefore will not be voting. Councilmember Barbosa?
Yes.
Councilmember Danko?
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus?
Affirmative.
Mayor Alpin?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Next item, other business. So the next item on the agenda is the council decision and direction to staff on whether to amend the commercial vehicle ordinance in Chapter 44 Article 2. Do any of the city council members wish to have the code read at this time for its detail?
No.
We've been through it so much at length.
Any questions or comments before I open for public comment?
Sure. So to clarify this, we're not changing the type of vehicle that is going to be allowed to park. We're changing is, instead of you tarping your vehicle when you get home, you don't have to tarp it anymore. It's not changing shape, size of the vehicles. That's the only thing. Instead of seeing these nasty tarps on the vehicle and having to come home and change, put the tarp on, it's just allowing the tarp. That's it.
Yeah, I got a bunch of emails, like I'm sure we all did, people on both sides of this issue expressing their views. And the one thing I found from those who were opposed to this was everyone was under the impression that we're talking about allowing different types of vehicles in driveways that are presently not allowed, like larger semi-haulers and all sorts of commercial vehicles. We are talking about the same exact vehicles that can park in their driveways right now. And we need to be clear on that, because all these folks are doing is they're either covering up their vehicles with car covers or taking big, giant white magnets to cover up their signage, or removing signage if they have larger magnets than what are permitted, because we do permit a small size. So these are the exact same trucks, cars, and vans that you see in your neighbor's driveway right now. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. We're not talking about allowing any other types of vehicles to park in those driveways. And I think that's important that people understand that. I think that's important that all of us understand that.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I believe we're going to vote again on the wording if this passes today?
Well,
yeah, this is not, yeah.
So we'll go through our process. The public will have a chance to comment. It will come back to the dais for additional discussion. Then I will ask for a motion. That motion will determine what we will vote on.
But we're not voting on any specifics right now.
We'll vote on the motion made.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion at this time?
If I could try to articulate my stance and where I'm coming from. So the same emails that I'm sure we all received, I also received. The outstanding number of them were opposed to this measure, but there were some that were in favor of this measure. And going back to our last workshop, I think it'd be prudent to, number one, get estimates from our city staff and the SOE on what it would cost to bring this measure to referendum and place it on the ballot. I also believe that, in my opinion, this isn't a popular change, but I think even if this doesn't pass, by having a referendum item on the ballot, we can get an accurate pulse on Palm Coast on where our residents stand. The previous surveys that we did were obviously non-scientific. They were just basically a poll that could be manipulated one way or another, and we had discussion last week about having a statistically significant poll that is sent out with our citizen survey. But I think this, on a referendum on the actual ballot, will give not only us, but future councils the data and pulse of Palm Coast on how they feel about this. And that is my preference, is that we have some type of feedback system that we can trust from the citizens of Palm Coast so that we can get an accurate pulse on the situation.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor?
To be honest, I think this is a lot more than nasty tarps. There's more to it. I could go on and on and on about what it does and what it doesn't, but I tell you, it's a lot more than nasty tarps. Tarps, I'm sorry. That's it.
I will open the item up for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to step forward and comment at this time?
I'm Mike Cochiola, thank you. Carrying forward my discussion earlier about ambiance, I understand what's being said. I understand that we're saying that nothing changes on size or shape of vehicles. I understand that. what we're talking about potentially is just advertisement on vehicles. But I'm not sure if you go that route, how you would describe what is acceptable on the sides of these vehicles and what is not acceptable. We know we have political divisions in this county, and they're pretty strong. We know, and I witnessed many times, really abhorrent language on the side of vehicles. Will that be allowed? How do you describe that? How do you describe pornography? How do you make those decisions in an ordinance? That concerns me a lot. It also concerns me that this seems to be, to me, directed toward a single council person. That may not be the case, but it seems to me that way. So what I do feel is, because there is such emotion about this, and I know there is, and you know there is, in the community, that I will back myself wholeheartedly the council person's recommendation of a official referendum so that we can get the full community to speak up and vote on this issue. It is that important. It is too important for this council to make this decision today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to come forward and comment at this time? Please give us your name for the record.
Good morning, guys. Steven Swarner. I just want to talk a little bit about, opposing some of the views here. A lot of people are trying to direct it towards, obviously, somebody who's openly talking about it, and I appreciate you doing that, because as a business owner myself, it is advertising. But this is no longer just a senior citizen community. This is a community of families. This is a community that we're continuing to grow every single day. And, in a time like this where we're spread apart with COVID, I'd like to know that my neighbor was a barber. Maybe I would go see him and say, hey, man, seen that sign on your truck. I'm a mortgage guy. Maybe I want to wrap my truck. Maybe you need a refinance. Then you don't have to get up and start looking around and trying to find somebody that you don't trust. You could trust your neighbor. If you knew your neighbor did it, if you knew your neighbor had a certain job, a pest control job or whatever. I'm not saying, allow box trucks or, big semi vehicles, but personal advertisement. It's my business, it's my vehicle. It's not your decision to make. And as a councilman, we give you guys the opportunity to vote on our behalf, not on your own opinion. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to step forward at this time?
Council. Morning. Pam Richardson. I have been a realtor in the state of Florida for 39 years. I consider that my responsibility as an ambassador. In addition, the city prior to me living here 17 years ago for 21 years is Coral Springs, known for its fine, outstanding code enforcement. This came up over and over and over again. Unfortunately, when you start to alter the codes, everybody has their own opinion of what that code means or what it's saying. I served as your code enforcement board, on that board for 5 years, ending up being the only female chair, as Mr. Reichman was then our city council back then. I signed thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of fines to our residents who didn't cut their lawn or do something to keep the aesthetics and the quality of life. We came here for a quality of life. We attract a quality of life, and we have to continue to keep a quality of life. Commercial vehicles are breaking the rules in every size, not just the small vans, as you state. But when will it stop? I have 2 semis, tractors that park on my street almost every weekend when they can, and they say they're washing their trucks. They're destroying our roads. Our sewers are failing all throughout the P section and several other of the sewered neighborhoods. It may not affect the PEP system as badly. But as you know, Rickenbacker and all that, I believe that might be a sewer issue as well. We have tractor trailers parking in residential zones. I am on the streets of every neighborhood all the time. Realtors are out there all the time. We see the damage that's being done. People park on the swales. So now these vans will now try to park on the swales as well. When does it stop? When does the changing and changing and changing of what most of us came here for the beauty? We have Tree City, USA. We're looking for a beautiful community to live in. Commercial zones are set up for commercial parking. There's no reason why we have to commingle that. These properties were developed as SFR 1s, 2s, and 3s. Single family residential, and I accent the word residential. I implore you not to vary on what has been such a success, because this city, when I moved here 17 years ago, had a population of maybe 23,000. Where are we now? Closer to 100. They didn't come here because they wanted to run a business. That's for sure. We talked about our unemployment being the highest. It's not the highest anymore. We never hear that comment anymore. I implore you to please not allow this foolishness in neighborhoods that are community neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods where children play. If you had semis parking on your street, I'm sure you'd be calling code enforcement every day. It's not the right way for this city to go. I implore you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to make comment? Please step forward. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Seib. I'm here today to request the City Council reject any changes that would alter the appearance of our neighborhoods by the repeal of this ordinance. Many, if not most, areas of Palm Coast at present are in a major state of flux, with lots being cleared, huge muddy trucks roaring down streets, home building crews parked all over the place, and generally kind of a mess. But we know this is a temporary thing. As the numbers of new home sites dwindle, it will become less over time. Why not let the dust settle for now, instead of throwing a permanent change in our community onto the pile? We have regulations on mowing and parking on our lawns, trees, shrubbery, setbacks, all positive regulations for our homes and businesses. Repealing this ordinance is not a positive. To drive through our streets and see essentially extremely large advertising signs on vehicles, that's not beautification. Many retirees here now came from places where that's all they had. Give them a break. Pride in your home, pride in your job, family, neighborhood, faith, that all comes from within. Living here in Palm Coast, working people have jobs and can support, even with a little help, their families. That's where pride comes from. Does Budweiser, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, and others have pride in their product when they advertise on television, the internet, print media, and billboards? Of course they do. But their main purpose in doing that is to advertise. Many of these advertising vehicles are from businesses located out of town. So, I again respectfully request that you vote against any changes to an ordinance in place since before Palm Coast was a city and has served us well. Let's keep our cities clear and clean and our neighborhoods beautiful. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Please.
Good morning, everyone. Dorothy Sperber, Executive Officer for the Flagler County Association of Realtors. Both our Public Policy Committee as well as our Board of Directors are recommending to not change this ordinance. There are several reasons for this recommendation. The first being the importance of the curb appeal of a home. The second being the impact of code restrictions and violations on those restrictions on a home's value. Let me first address curb appeal. Curb appeal is that instant desire to want to see more of that home. How your home and adjacent homes from the outside can have significant influence on a potential buyer's perception of its value. Homes in neighborhoods with high curb appeal command higher prices and take less time to sell. According to a joint study by the University of Alabama and the University of Texas at Arlington, homes with high curb appeal tend to sell for an average of 7% more than similar homes with an uninviting exterior. The premium rises to as high as 14% in slower real estate markets with greater housing inventory. We're seeing our inventory come back up, so this statistic certainly fits the city of Palm Coast. The study was published in the Journal for Real Estate Finance and Economics. Code restrictions and code restriction violations. Code restrictions have been proven to help with maintaining and ensuring a home's value and its growth. The best comparison I can give is between code restrictions and HOAs. We're all aware that the city of Palm Coast is not an HOA, but in this instance, it does have a similar corresponding values. Code restrictions, like HOAs, ensure there is a level of uniformity, and uniformity is what sells and helps with values. In fact, a study found that on average, a house within an HOA code-restricted community sellers for about 5 to 6% higher than a house that is not in an HOA. Code restrictions can also help mediate problems on other owners' behalf, thus preventing external factors like a neighbor's house that is not maintained or abundant of commercial vehicles parked in a driveway from affecting your value. One thing I don't believe we are looking at here at all or even considered, how does this affect those home-based businesses that have been permitted?
Thank you.
So, thank you. Most residential homes are showing increases in value. Let's keep it that way. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Another member of the public, please.
Thank you. My name is Garrett Decker, resident here in Palm Coast. I would urge the City Council to authorize this change. I'm a realtor here in town too. I want to put a sign on my car. I don't like taking the magnets off all the time. There's a number of businesses that want to move here, home-based businesses that want to move here, but they can't because they can't advertise. We are limiting home-based businesses. We're limiting other businesses from advertising. Prior to being a realtor, I was a deputy sheriff. I had a patrol car in my driveway. People knew what I did. It was a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. I get knocks on the door for questions all the time. But people came to me for questions that they wanted. As a realtor, people know that I'm a realtor. They're gonna come to me for questions. Other home-based businesses, other people that have businesses, it's a way of advertising. Yes, people want to advertise. That's why they put the markings on their car. One thing people aren't talking about is it's going to save City Council. It's going to save the code enforcement time and money on enforcing these signs, which they can use it to enforce other issues around town, such as semis being parked, because semis being allowed in the neighborhood is not part of this ordinance. This ordinance does not go into those, and people are misinformed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi. Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Mary Vasilevsky. I live in Palm Coast here. I work for a local builder. I just want to say I am not jealous of your job right now, all of you guys. And I want to thank everyone for coming and presenting their opinion. I do not have an educated, informed opinion on this matter, but I do support Councilperson Clufus for making a study and really getting an accurate pulse. One of the things that I'd like to remind everyone sitting here is we have a lot of angry and emotional people, and the ones who are angry and emotional do show up, and it might be a minority, it might be a majority, we don't know. But the thing I did want to point out are the people who this ordinance directly impacts. Most of them, and me working for a builder, I'm really grateful that I have the flexibility in my job to come here, is that the people that this affects cannot make it here today. They are currently at work, mostly 7 to 4, 7 to 10, whatever that looks like. They're not able to speak up on their opinion. Now, again, I'm neither supporting nor going against this ordinance, but when we do have a vote, or if we are able to, definitely keeping in mind the people who this affects, who cannot disproportionately show up here today.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public? Please step forward. Okay.
Excuse me. Good morning again, George Mayo, Palm Coast. I hear what you are saying about this, and it's not going to change the size of the vehicles or anything like this. And I was a blue collar all my life, so I understand the electrician want to come home who may be on call 24 hours a day, or the plumber who may be on call. But if that's the case, park the vehicle in your garage. I believe every house in Palm Coast has a garage. Park it in your garage. I know it was just over a year ago, I saw an advertisement for a shrink wrap company to wrap your cars. Was willing to pay people to, we'll pay you to put a wrap on your car, whatever it is, a vape shop or a florist or something. A gentleman just says he comes home and he doesn't want to have to take his magnetic signs off the car. Well, that's why you have magnetic signs on your car, so it takes 20 seconds to take them off. And I could see other companies saying, hiring people and friends and relatives and saying, oh, let me put my sign on your car. I'll pay you $10 a month. I'll pay you $20 a month. No, we don't really need that. And I believe there's enough bad actors, they're going to read in the Observer or some other paper that says, oh, they changed the ordinance. I'm going to be bringing my big dually home, loaded with lumber because I'm a carpenter, or loaded with PVC pipe because he's a plumber, or loaded with something else. And while I'm home, I don't need all this today. I'll just leave the ladders on my side of my driveway. I believe there's enough bad actors that will take advantage of this. So if this goes forward, I would definitely suggest that you hire more code enforcement officers, because the bad actors are going to make it worse for the honest people who just want to come home and then go to work. And I think it would just make a bad situation. I told earlier, I spoke to you on how neat and clean the city is on picking up litter and cutting. And that's the whole thing about Palm Coast. It's a clean city. You can just drive to any other city out of here, and I don't believe any other city is as clean as we are. And I think changing this ordinance is just going to make it worse and not make it as nice as we have it right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment at this time?
Welcome to this chamber.
Please state your name for the record for
My
us
name
again.
is Doyle Lewis. Years ago, I spent months and months and months with Flagler Beach and with Palm Coast on this particular matter. The way I see this is a bunch of lawyers trying to make some money, putting more paper on top of it to make sure it gets confusing for the typical person. I think this should be voted down. I think we're all adults in the business world, and I think this is just a way to get people confused. I've been studying this ever since I came to Florida. Most people can't make it here. They're disabled, they're retired, they had an accident at work. The easiest way to make this get more complicated is to have a filibuster. Guess who wins? The lawyers. Guess who wins? The person who talks longer. Guess who wins? The one surviving and standing. The one that didn't die trying to make this not happen. Some people live for one purpose only. It's to confuse the opponent. The more paper you add on this ordinance, the more confusing it will get. I've talked to city officials all through this area. Most of them don't even know how to do their job because you've got them confused. I see this as a ploy with lawyers to move money around. Which money is supposed to be moved around? It's called economics. I agree with the realtor. She came up here and said, this brings the value of the community residential areas down. It does. I've been in the building industry since I was 12. I've worked hard. The entire reason why this should be voted down, it's not directed at anyone except the retirement community in the residential areas. I've got over 40 years experience with this. I could make a lawsuit right now. I've got 400 million papers I can put on your desk so I can waste your time. That's the way I look at this. I'm trying to protect the residents of this entire area from people who just want to give attitude to their neighbor. That's what I see this for. My name is Doyle Lewis, and I've been through more things than you can ever imagine. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment on the item at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment now. And I have a comment. The parking code has served the city well during the last 20 years, reinforcing the curb appeal of our neighborhoods and contributing to the value of our homes. We are projecting new growth again as we look forward, and we should manage it smartly. So I am in favor of maintaining the code as currently enforced, and also will favor a ballot vote on the item at the next opportunity, provided it's economically feasible. So what I will do is I will pass the gavel, if I may, to the Vice Mayor, and I will make a motion.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I believe we were discussing voting on this change, not introducing a new one. I also believe that before we move forward to make a vote, we have discussion.
Well, normally discussion will come after a motion is made and perhaps seconded, or the motion doesn't appear. So
the motion that we agreed to make was to make a vote on changing or not changing this ordinance. That's what we agreed to at the workshop. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, that is the motion I'm making.
No, you're making a motion to do a referendum.
Well, I'm making a motion, and I'll state it again. I'm in favor of maintaining the code as currently enforced. So, based on our discussion at the workshop, that will then be my motion. Thank you.
That's fine, but...
That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
And I have a second. Now, is there discussion?
Yeah, there is discussion. Number one, I just want to make this clear again, because some folks don't seem to understand this. We're not talking about parking semis. And we certainly expect code enforcement to do their job when semis are parked in driveways. And I'm sure, and I see Barbara's here, I'm sure code enforcement is out doing that job, dealing with those types of vehicles. And if we change this ordinance to allow pickup trucks or vans or cars, I know code enforcement will continue to enforce the other part of the ordinance. And they do a good job of it. So also, I think this is very important to understand too. A lot of folks who would like to speak in favor of this aren't here today because they're out working. They're out fixing your AC. They're out fixing your plumbing. They're out doing whatever else needs to be done, your washing machine or whatever. They're not here because they're actually working. We are a changing, growing community. We're no longer ITT, that's for sure. We're no longer just a retirement community. We do have a percentage of retirees, but we got a percentage of young families here too, like Stephen back there who spoke. I think, Stephen, you just gave birth to your 4th child, 5th child, something like that. I mean, we do have growing families, and people need to work. There is simply nothing wrong with working. It's part of the American dream, for God's sakes. We're not an HOA. If you don't want to see a work vehicle, move into an HOA. We got tons of HOAs that you can choose from. We heard from a few realtors. I wish I had $1 for every realtor that came up to me when I was running for election that wanted me to change the sign ordinance so they could put their open house signs up and direct traffic, which I'm not opposed to, by the way, but you can't have it both ways. You just can't have it both ways. You know, if you want to put your sign up that says open house, I'm fine with that. That's how you sell a house. I know, I grew up in a real estate family. This house I own now is my 10th house in life. Okay, the previous homes, probably 5 of them were sold through open houses. And I know it's a way you pick up business too. But you want your signs in front of a house and on a street corner pointing the traffic in, directing traffic, well then what's wrong with an AC, an HVAC truck or a plumber's truck with some signage? I think also, the city, we have a campaign, and it's a great campaign. Be local, local, buy local. I support that. I think we all do. Well, nothing is more anti-local than not allowing people to have their work vehicles parked in a driveway. And again, it's the same vehicles, only they don't need to cover it. I see nothing wrong with that. And my friend Mike, you expressed a concern about obscene signs or something. I don't think anybody's going to be in business very long if they put obscenities on the side of their work vehicle. We're talking work vehicles. We're not talking signage to protest something or express an opinion. We're talking about work vehicles. So I don't see an issue there. The other thing is, if we pass this, if we make a change to allow these vehicles, it will allow code enforcement to go after the other more serious problems. It may actually be part of, something that streamlines our need to hire future code enforcement personnel down the road. Mr. Mayor, I would also like to remind you, you are on the board of directors of our Palm Coast Flagler Chamber of Commerce, okay? Nothing would be more anti-business in our community than not allowing trucks like Victor's to be parked in a driveway. And you're on the Chamber of Commerce. I know your chamber's mission statement is to affect politics, but I would think your mission would also be to support our local businesses. And finally, I just want to make one other point. Victor's being attacked as if Victor brought this problem forward. Victor's situation kind of got some attention, but I got to tell you, this was when I ran for election, I had a lot of business owners that came up to me and said, can we get this changed? So this was long before Victor had his problem with code enforcement, which he corrected for now. Finally, the last thing I want to say, we talk about putting this on the ballot. Business owners are a minority in our community. It's a minority of folks that own businesses. Not everyone owns a business. I don't think minority rights have any place on a referendum, that we're going to use the majority of people to limit the rights of a minority in our community. And that minority is business owners. What other minority rights will we then use a majority vote to suppress? That's not America. Thank you.
One thing I would like to say is we did.
I'll be giving you the right as soon as it's done. Okay.
One thing I would like to say is over the past 5 years, the Realtor open house sign issue is one that's complex, and I think it bleeds over into the potential issues that we would see by changing this ordinance. If you have to read the sign to discern whether or not that sign is allowable in your right-of-ways, you're infringing on someone's First Amendment rights. So that's why we can't say, as much as when I originally campaigned, I would like to say, hey, realtors can put their open house sign on the corner and direct traffic. But what that allows is everyone to put anything on any sign and also put it on that corner, and we're not allowed to remove that sign unless we remove all of them. So by limiting the signs in totality with the registration process like we have for open house signs, it prevents the unintended negatives that can come with changing rules like this. I don't think anyone would argue that if you have a nice neighbor who offers a good service at a quality, level of service, that you wouldn't mind having them have their business, plastered onto their car. I don't think that's a problem. But if you have someone who's using this as a way to alienate people around them or create some type of friction, that's where I potentially see this becoming even more of an issue, similar to the way that we've had to deal with realtors and the open house signs. It's a complex issue that if we look at only the positives, and if we were to take into account that everyone's always acting in the best interests of themselves and their neighbors, this would not be a problem. But if that were the case, we wouldn't actually need code enforcement and ordinances like this. So that's what I would like to tell the audience and anyone listening about the real estate open house signs, is that we're not against open house signs per se. It's the limit that we impose so we can prevent the potential issues for negative actors. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Barbosa, Councilman Barbosa, go ahead.
I'm a little confused, and I see that there's a lot of residents confused about this, because I still hear them talking about semis, which semis have nothing to do with this. I have no idea what semis have to do with this. I'm also confused with the Realtor Board, because that was the first meeting I had was over there, and they were all for this. But it seems that they want to put their open house signs and their for sale signs everywhere, and that's not going to affect your value, like you said. And we also drive around town, and I see, every time I drive, I see realtors with signage on their vehicles. So I don't understand how a couple of realtors came up here and talk about this. We also had a gentleman that comes in here and he talks, and every time it's time to listen to what we're going to say about this, he leaves. But he talked about pride in business. Well, isn't it pride to have your logo, your business name on your vehicle? He talked about Budweiser, Papa John's, all vehicles that have signage on there. Every time you get a pizza delivery, Papa John's sign is on their vehicle. Now, I don't care if this passes or not. My job is to bring what the residents want to the table. Then it's our job to vote on it. I was for putting this on the ballot, but it cost a lot of money to put this thing on the ballot. People were mad because we had to have a special election for the mayor, and it cost us a lot more money to put this on the ballot. We were voted into office to make these decisions based on the people that put us into office. I'm the only small business owner here. And that's why I think it's important to have a small business owner up here so he could show the different views. I have people that follow me to the barbershop because they see the wrap. Every red light I stop at, they roll down their window and say, man, that looks great. Saying that your business name in your house is going to devaluate the price, I don't know what kind of realtors you guys are, but that should be better because you have business people living there. You have people that make money to pay their mortgages and their taxes. Going against the small business people, I don't see how anybody can vote them in. I mean, this is what makes America us. This is what is being attacked, the middle class right now. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Go ahead. That's it.
Last but I hope not least, it's me. A referendum was actually proposed by me at a time. And quickly, I was told that was not a good idea. We could not wait a year. Remember that? Business cannot wait a year. So therefore, puts us in a position today that we have to make a motion. We have to decide today. And then I would like to remind Councilman Danko, you cannot have the cake and eat it too. And let me tell you what I mean, and I mean it with all due respect. You said that minorities.
I thought they're not allowed to talk to each other.
No, I could refer to him, okay? And I'm doing it with all due respect, okay? You said clearly that minorities have no business being in a referendum because it's not fair. They're in a minority.
That's not quite what I said.
Okay, but
Can I?
No, sir, please let me finish.
Well,
He's
I'll
allowed
give
to
you-
attack everybody up here, but we can't say nothing to him.
I just
He's
wanted-
God
You-
Almighty
you-
here.
Would you stop? I'm talking.
I just
Well,
wanted.
talk
Jesus
to the
Christ.
people, don't talk to us.
I could refer.
I'm tired of this. You're being a little kid.
You out of order. You out of order.
People, not to
You're
us.
out of order.
Stop attacking.
You out of order.
You're out of order. And I'm tired of it.
You
I've
out
been
of
sitting
order.
here quiet,
You out
listening
of order,
to your
sir.
garbage.
You out of order. Okay, let me go back to what I was at.
Nobody wants to hear you anymore.
Good. Thank you very
Wow.
much. Very good. And once again, Councilman Danko, I will
Yeah,
then
sure,
give you the
sure,
chance of
I just wanted to clarify my remarks so we were on the same page.
you'll have the chance. Trust me, you'll
Okay.
have the chance.
Okay.
And the reason why I said that, you mentioned that no minorities have no business being on a referendum.
That's not what I said.
Okay, but that's what I understood.
That's why I
Okay?
wanted to clarify it,
Okay,
sir.
and I'll let you clarify that. And then, what I said that you can have the cake and eat it too, it's for the simple fact that there's a minority and a majority. You said clearly here, if you don't like it, move. Talking about people that live in HOAs or not. I think that we do not have the right to say that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're telling people, if you don't like it, move, I think that I find a problem with that. Also, I just heard over here, for somebody who don't like to hear me, he said, people put me here, I don't care. We should all care. Look to the tape and see what I'm talking about. It wasn't you.
Oh.
Okay, I don't care. Well, we should care. And do you care to explain what you mean by minority? Not
Sure,
having-
sure.
not
What I
having-
meant was, and I think you just misunderstood my intention. I meant that a minority's rights, all right, of any minority, should not be placed on a ballot for everyone to vote for or against. Minorities in this country have rights, just like majorities have rights. And what I meant was business owners are a minority. It's a minority of our residents, the people that own businesses. We shouldn't, as a majority, decide what's right or wrong for them. That's what I meant by that. So I wanted to clarify that. The other point you mentioned was I suggested to people that if you don't like our growing diverse city, which includes everyone, and you want to have strict covenants and rules that would prohibit this sign or this truck or whatever, we have plenty of HOAs that have those rules. We are no longer ITT. We are not an HOA. We are a growing, diverse city that's getting larger. And with that comes change. So that's what I meant by that. And there was some third thing. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
That was, my question was about the minority. regarding
Okay.
you. That was it.
Yeah, and so it's not it's, I'm trying to find a better way to describe this, but I'm just saying.
I'm clear. I am clear. I thank you very
You're
much.
clear.
You cleared my,
Oh, okay,
my
I just
question.
wanted to make sure that
Okay.
we understood
Based
that.
on that, and
Mr.
if
Vice,
anybody.
Mr. Vice Mayor, could I have a call for the vote at this time?
No, I'll do that right now. That's what about.
I wanted to address one other question, though. Mr. Kloufis mentioned the real estate signs, and I know he's in favor of them. from what you said, that you wish you could find a way that we could allow real estate agents to do the signage, but your concern was that it would permit anyone to put up a sign, I believe was what you said. Am I not correct, sir?
I don't want to interrupt.
I think you're going to have to ask me the
Okay,
question.
all right, well, but either way, I wanted to ask, as a result of that, I wanted to ask council, if we permit a business owner like Victor to have the signage on his vehicle in a driveway, does that open a floodgate to anybody who wants to just put any type of signage on a vehicle? Or are we specific enough that we are talking about just work vehicles?
Is that your?
For me?
Yes.
Okay, let me indicate what I understand the discussion today to be with regard to the code. We're talking about section 4434. This is regarding parking. Parking and storage of vehicles generally. Subsection C, trying to get total context so everyone can understand what we're talking about. And if staff believes I'm misquoting, the intent of the discussion today, please correct me. So C starts with, because that's where, this is the section that pertains to our discussion today, is prohibited unlawful to park or store a motor vehicle overnight in a residential zone except passenger vehicles as defined herein. Then it has a whole lot of other parts that aren't relevant to this discussion. But then it says, and this is where we're getting to the discussion, it is prohibited and unlawful to park or store a commercial vehicle anywhere in the city limits as posted per, and there's a statute, at any time unless at a residential, as a residence for a residential service call. And here we go. Then you go into the definitions of what is a commercial vehicle. A commercial vehicle means, and then this is the key part, this is what we've been talking about. Any motor vehicle upon which advertising markings have been affixed which occupy in excess of 3 square feet per side. That is my understanding of what the discussion is today, that particular point. All we are talking about today is whether or not to amend the code, that particular section, as it tries to help define for your code enforcement staff and for your residents in the community, what is a commercial vehicle, what is not a commercial vehicle, so that there's a clear understanding that this is as it's currently written, this is a commercial vehicle, and you cannot park this type of vehicle in a residential district in the city of Palm Coast. That is the current code, and the discussion today is whether to continue with that regulation and restriction or not.
But my question is, because somebody brought it up, Mike out there brought it up, could somebody, if we amend this, then we allow pickup trucks, vans, whatever we allow, could somebody wrap their vehicle in obscenities and then claim they're a commercial vehicle when they're not? Would they?
That would be enforceable under other portions of our sign code.
So there was, Mike mentioned it and some other gentleman mentioned it. I think we need to be clear that your neighbor's not going to be able to wrap a vehicle with obscenities just to upset you and claim he's got a commercial vehicle. Is that correct?
Again, it's just saying advertising markings.
Right.
All right. Any further comments on this matter?
So how do you determine if it's a commercial vehicle?
Precisely.
Because it doesn't have commercial plates. It's not registered under a company that's commercial. So.
Well, there's what I didn't read is there are other portions within this code that help. This was just one indicia of what is and what is not a commercial vehicle. There are other portions in here, for example, and these are not exclusive, but some of them, a commercial vehicle means any agricultural, construction, or industrial equipment, semicolon, any motor vehicle upon which advertising, semicolon, any motor vehicle having a carrying capacity, and then it goes into detail, semicolon, any motor vehicle to which has been added a platform rack or other, and it goes on. So the code tries to be specific and provide guidance to the public, to people that may or may not live in a residential district about what is a commercial vehicle. These are the standards in our code, and if you meet one of these standards, one of these factors, these indicia, then you're driving and you're parking in a commercial vehicle, which according to our code, you can't park in a residential area. Those are the different standards. Now, I'm certain, I mean, these folks out here, they're sitting at that table, they deal with this on a daily basis. I'm telling you that the code provides more standards than just whether or not you've got a 3x1 sign that is advertising your business on the side of your vehicle.
I see we have Barbara Grossman here from Code Enforcement today. Do we allow city vehicles with signage to park in driveways, to go home, have lunch, park overnight?
Yes.
We do. So we allow our city work vehicles to park in driveways.
Let me clarify one thing. The prior city council, Barbara Grossman, Code Enforcement Manager, from 11:30 to 2:30, it was decided that people could go home, the businessmen could go home for lunch. We do not cite anybody between 11:30 and 2:30 with their commercial vehicles. They're
Okay.
home on a lunch hour.
But we do allow those city vehicles to park overnight in driveways.
I can't speak for everyone on call.
Jason DiLorenzo, Councilman Danko, I think it's only on-call vehicles, so utility has some on-call vehicles and most departments do not.
Right, but the plumber, the electrician who's on call cannot park in his driveway overnight. But city workers can.
Animal control officers, you just acknowledged them this morning. None of those people, they're all on call. They don't take their vehicles home. They come here and get their vehicle.
He just said the opposite.
My on-call animal control officers do not take vehicles home. They are left here at the fleet parking lot, and when a call comes in through the Flagler County Dispatch, they come here and pick up their vehicle.
Animal control.
Yes, sir.
But not all city vehicles here. Some can park overnight.
Actually, I apologize, Mayor, City Council. I just conferred with Steve Flanagan, the utility director, and all the vehicles are at the yard. So when they're on call, they go and pick up their vehicle.
So if there was a city vehicle parked overnight in a driveway, a neighbor could file a complaint with code enforcement.
Most of our vehicles, I can't speak for all vehicles, but all of the code enforcement vehicles, animal control vehicles, and urban forestry vehicles are less than 3 square feet per side.
Okay, I don't know if all of them are. Some of them have racks and equipment on them.
That's true.
So if a truck with equipment, a rack, parked overnight in a driveway, it was a city vehicle, the neighbor could call you and you would enforce code.
Any further comments, any questions to Mr. Reichman or anybody?
Yeah, so during lunchtime, it's not going to bring the price value on your house down, only if it parks overnight. Second, I've had people written me that their vehicle was wrapped in, say, a football team, and they've got signage for that. Is that a commercial vehicle? Because what I've heard, and it makes sense, is if you own that business, it makes it a commercial vehicle if you have your signage. But now, if you have, say, Jaguars on your car, why are the people getting cited? They would like to know that.
First of all, who's wrapping their car in Jaguar stuff?
Okay.
I don't know. Is this
Mayor.
a public meeting? This is a joke here.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Reichman mentioned it earlier. As the code is written now, it says any motor vehicle with signage in excess of 3 square feet. So it wouldn't matter what the content is, it's any motor vehicle in excess of 3 square feet.
So it's
Any
not
further
just-
questions?
So it's
I'm
not
sorry.
just the commercial vehicles, any vehicle.
Yes, as by definition in the code.
No further questions for Mr. Do you still maintain your,
Yes.
you still second?
Seconded, yeah.
Virginia, call for a vote, please.
Let's be clear for the record. The motion that is on the floor is to not change the code, is to leave the code the way it is.
Exactly.
So I just want to make sure that the public understands, the record understands. and the
His
people
motion,
that-
I thought was to put it on the ballot.
No, it was just to leave the code as it is, because that's what Councilmember Danko made a point, and the mayor recognized his point, and that is that the purpose of what we had on the agenda today, given from the workshop, was to bring back an agenda item on whether or not we should move forward with changing the code with regard to parking of commercial vehicles in this limited capacity. That is the motion on the floor. It has been seconded.
Right, and now I'm calling for a vote. Virginia, would you be so kind?
Mayor Alphen,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbosa.
I'm a little confused now.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to keep the code the way it
Oh.
is.
Got it.
Councilmember Danko.
No.
Councilmember Clufus.
Affirmative.
Vice Mayor Branquinho.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
I'm passing at this moment. I got it back to Mr. Mayor.
Next item, clerk would guide us through this item.
Mayor, City Council, we are on the appointment to the Affordable Housing Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. If you recall, back on September 7th, we were looking for an appointment. We had two applicants, Mr. Casey Cheap and Ms. Vasilevsky. And at council's request, the applicants were invited to attend this meeting so council could speak with them. Mr. Casey Cheap had rescinded his application due to family matters. Ms. Vasilevsky is here today for council's questions, comments, whichever you'd like to speak with her. At the September 14th workshop was when I presented to council that Mr. Cheap was withdrawing his application, and if I could go out for more applications. And then on this past Friday, I received a call from the advisory committee chair stating that we, as council, needed to make an appointment by October 1 in order for their board to proceed. So Ms. Vasilevsky is here today for council if you have any questions for her, and we need to make an appointment to that committee.
So, Ms. Vasilevsky, could you approach the podium for us, if you wouldn't mind? Just if I'll remind council, Ms. Vasilevsky had a substantial resume that was in a prior package that you all had a chance to review. So I would invite you now to ask questions. It is our only candidate for this important committee over at the county, but we should do our best here. Questions?
I have none.
You're qualified.
So,
Qualified.
okay. So,
Thank you.
having been the former chair of that committee, I would ask you, have you had the opportunity to visit that committee?
Yes, I was actually recruited for that committee when I moved back to Palm Coast in fall of 2019. Sandra Shank asked me to join. She told me about it, and I have attended almost all of the meetings that they've had since then.
Very good.
I just would like to add that if we actually voted you in, please serve well and fairly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, discussion? Then I would reach out to the public. Does any member of the public, please be seated. Does any member of the public wish to step forward and make comment at this time?
Hi, Anna Maria Long still. I would like to speak to Mary's character. She is a fair, honest person. Her education in green building and sustainable building, which is so important for affordable housing, that it's sustainable. It's pointless to put anyone in something that's going to fall apart and cost them more money in the end. I don't know anyone more qualified. And she is a member of the Flagler Home Builders Association, and we value her input there, and I think she'd be an excellent addition to the HCA. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public wish to step forward at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment and come back to City Council. Any final comments or discussion?
None.
I would ask for a motion at this time for the
Make a motion to approve, Mrs.
I'll second it.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, and I would second, please serve well. Your area becomes increasingly more important as we step each day forward into the future. Next item is to appoint one member to the districting commission. We've had some changing there, so I would ask the clerk to just bring us up to date.
Sure. Mayor, City Council, in regards to the districting commission, one of your appointees has withdrawn from serving on this board, unfortunately. We do have 2 alternates that remained from the original date of appointment on August 24th from councils. We do have 2 additional proposed names for council's consideration, so I'll give you all 4. And then if you could make a motion to appoint one more member to the district, whichever person that may be from the list I provide to you, we can move from there forward. So the alternates from the last meeting were Ms. Sarah Melendez, Mr. David Ferguson. The 2 newly proposed is Mr. Perry Matrano and Ms. Shelley Wheeler.
So I would ask for a motion at this time for, to choose one of the candidates for appointment to the districting commission.
I'll make a
Due to
motion.
the fact that Mr. David Ferguson
I'm sorry.
has been.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
recognize Mr. Barbosa was starting to speak before you.
I'll make a motion to pass Perry Matrano.
I'll second that motion.
My comment is, I've reached out to Mr. Ferguson, and I had told him that he wouldn't, his services wouldn't be necessary because we had reached consensus last time. I would just have to reach back out to him to confirm that he's still an alternate, but
So we're really discussing 3 candidates?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So there is a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? And I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
Absolutely.
No other discussion?
I'll just say that I've known Perry for quite a while. Him and his wife, they run a business here in Palm Coast. He's worked before in city government. He's a fine person, so I have no objection to him.
Any additional comment? Then I would ask for a roll call vote on this item, please, if you would.
Councilmember Branquinho?
No?
Councilmember Barbosa?
Yes.
Councilmember Danko?
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus?
yeah.
Mayor Alphen?
Yes.
Motion passes 3 to.
Next item on the agenda would be consent items. Mr. Reichman, do you need to read the consent items? Or we
No,
can
I do
just-
not. It would just
Okay.
be, what we normally do is just allow any council member to remove one if they saw fit, or at the beginning of the consent agenda to allow the public to come forward to present any comment that they wish on any item on the consent agenda.
So, request any items you'd like to remove at this time, city council members?
I have none.
Then I'll put this out to the public. Does the public wish to comment on the consent agenda items at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to city council. Any additional discussion?
To approve the consent agenda as read?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please
Aye.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously. Next item, public participation. Are there any members of the public that would like to make final comment today?
There's no shot clock.
Yes, good morning again, George Mayo, Palm Coast. Something I had read a short while ago in USA Today, and I'm sorry, the gentleman who's always here from Florida Park Drive, talking about the pollution and the traffic, and I agree. I lived on the other end of town, but I know Florida Park Drive is heavily traveled. What I saw in this article was a city had a similar situation. They had a well-traveled road in the residential section and didn't know what to do with stop signs, speed bumps, etc. And what they came up with is they got an artist who painted a 3D speed bump at various sections. It almost looked like the concrete bumpers that you have in the parking lot so you can't drive past it up onto the sidewalk. And they painted this at different spaces on the road. And they did a survey for several months afterwards, and it showed that it decreased the traffic speed by 70%. Now, obviously, somebody who lives around the corner is gonna know what it is, and they're just gonna keep going. But that might be something that we were looking at, because I know the council has talked about, gee, should we put up speed bumps? Is it too expensive? Do we need stop signs? Something like this would seem fairly inexpensive, and if it solved the problem, it could be a fairly inexpensive problem to traffic volume and traffic speed on the road. So I just thought I might bring it up and might be a good solution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any final comments from the public today? Seeing none, I will ask the city attorney.
No further
Do you have any
comments, Mr.
comments today?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Now I will go to city councilman, final comments today,
Starting with me?
Yeah.
Or,
if you like.
oh, okay. I like the speed bump idea, and then maybe after 2 months, you put real ones in there just to, you know, see the reaction from the folks who thought they were fake. I did want to just ask our attorney a question, because somehow, and maybe I misunderstood Councilman Clufus, but somehow I thought he had mentioned real estate signs. I know the audience had mentioned it, and I had mentioned it, but my understanding is on signage that people would put up, like open house signs and stuff. If we open that door, we allow anyone to put up any sign because of that Supreme Court ruling. So you could put up anything you wanted. And that's one of the reasons we haven't done it. But we could, if this council chose, and correct me if I'm wrong, we could pass an ordinance that would allow signage like real estate signs and open house signs from Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to, you know, Monday morning at 6 a.m. Or we could put a time restraint on signs. Is that correct, sir, or not?
You would be able to provide for regulations on signs where you do not regulate the content. These are, and they were in the case, that the Supreme Court case that you were referencing, that was actually the subject of that Supreme Court case. Not specifically real estate signs. Actually, it was signage for a church, if I remember correctly.
But we could regulate the time frame.
If I may finish, those are called temporary signs.
Yeah.
That's what they're referred to in that case. And so what the Supreme Court said is that you can regulate time, place, and manner of temporary signs. You just can't specify which temporary signs can be placed where, when, and how. If you're going to create regulations for temporary signs, they're going to apply to any sign, whatever size it is, wherever you allow it, whatever time frame you allow it, no matter what that sign says. You can't look at the content of the sign. So that's the risk. Is
So
that
for future consideration down the road, because I've had a lot of real estate agents ask me about signage to direct traffic to their open houses, we could say, yeah, Saturday morning to Sunday evening, and anything beyond that, if you don't pick it up, code enforcement will be picking it up. That would certainly limit the few people that might put something else up, especially if they lost their sign. So anyway, just a suggestion. And I did have a question for our city manager, or maybe for Parks and Services. Do we require masks be worn at the community center?
Excuse me. I would actually just ask our Park and Rec staff to come up to clarify our policies that are being implemented in the community center. Was that your question, council member?
Yeah, I just want to know if there is a mask requirement for people to enter the community center.
It's not a requirement, recommendation.
Okay, it's a recommendation. So then I'll just bring to your attention that the Palm Coast Historical Society, which apparently is holding an event we're sponsoring, sent out an advertisement requiring people wear masks.
Okay.
Could you please have that corrected, if possible?
Yep, we can look into that.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other?
Yes. Had a resident send me something, and this is why in the past I've asked to go over policy and procedures of code enforcement. They got a violation. Now, he is a landowner. He owns the duplex. He rents out to tenants. The tenant parks in a different neighborhood and in a medium. So this is what he wrote to me. They sent me a code violation because my tenant parked his car on a medium in front of someone else's house. I was told I'm responsible because he is my tenant. So I said, if he goes and kills someone, then would I be responsible too? I don't understand why the owner of a property would get a citation from code enforcement because of their tenant parking in a different house, neighborhood. These are some of the reasons that I have asked to go over policy and procedures. I see someone coming up here.
So, Councilman Barbosa, could I ask our city attorney to get back to you on that? I'm not sure he's going to have the answer ready.
Saw Lorenzo looking
Oh,
here.
it sounds to me like a legal question, but okay, take a shot.
And Jason DiLorenzo, Community Development. Now, this will be kind of a blush, and then Mr. Reichman can provide the details. But rental properties require a rental registration. And as part of that registration, that's how we would tie the vehicle back to the owner. It's always the property owner's responsibility.
Parking in a different area?
It's, the median is not located near the home?
No, it says this is, the owner's house is 40 Brittany Lane, not to give the address. And on the violation, it says parked in area of 7 Woods Trail. Nothing to do with the house. That's insane.
We'll have to get you more details, yeah.
So, Councilman, can we have Mr. Reichman get back to you? I think part of that's a legal question. I'm not sure we're able to answer it fully now. Mr. Reichman, unless you can jump into
I would
it.
certainly want to talk with staff. I'll get with staff and find out under what code that the citation was issued.
44, that famous number.
Well, all right, so you give me. Okay, I do have a couple of comments as we get to the end here. There's been a request from our local media regarding patience with the service industry. So let me just read this. On Saturday's business report on Flagler Broadcasting, it was brought out that a lot of service industries are short-staffed right now. Those are our residents, workers, and those that attend those services. Restaurants have longer wait times for tables, food and beverages, so the request is just simply, and this is for the record, because of the extreme circumstances at the moment, if we would all just be kind to those service workers that are serving us and reciprocate, that attitude back and forth. These are extreme conditions, so we would appreciate that, and the city would always support such a thing. I would also remind everyone that we have Food Truck Tuesday today. It's a very special day with the proclamation that we had earlier, so please do your best to attend and take advantage and help the charities that the Food Truck Tuesday supports. And finally, I would like to offer both mine and City Council's congratulations to Representative Paul Renner, who I assume during the course of this meeting has been elected to Speaker-elect of the Florida Legislature. So our representative is a local Palm Coast resident, so I would believe this is the first time that has ever happened. So should you see him, reach out, please congratulate him. That is something that I think we could all be proud of and bodes well for our opportunities for the future. So please do that. Finally, I would ask City Manager for...
Sir, we're not shot meat.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. My apologies. With all due respect.
You have anything else to say?
Sure. First, I would just like to congratulate the staff on a successful Arbor Day event this weekend. I showed up a little bit late. I didn't get a tree, but I still donated my cans. But I was very excited to see the amount of energized families that attended Town Center. I thought that was tremendous. You saw kids of all ages loving the butterfly event. It was really nice to see, and it was beautiful weather, so thank you for that. The second thing I'd like to say is just that decorum matters, and we're sitting up here, and we're representing our constituents, and we're arguing about interrupting one another when we're committing the same, acts ourselves. And I just wanted to state that, Facebook politics doesn't work either. I see one of our council members sitting here taking pictures of us so that they can be posted on Facebook momentarily. That's not how we should be representing ourselves, and that's not what our constituents deserve. That's all I have.
All right.
first of all, I would like to congratulate Paul Renner, a friend, a man of his word. Trust me, a man of his word. Also, I'm honored to being able to read this Good Samaritan presentation. They were phenomenal people. They were our heroes. Just to respond in a calm manner, if I can. Everybody knows I don't go to Facebook. People send me a couple of things. And then I read that he's a crybaby. He's a bully. Yeah, that makes me answer. I don't go there. I answer here.
That was me.
I answer here.
You can say my name.
Okay, and I don't attack. I remind you of your own words. I've been sent to hell. I've been sent back to New Jersey. But I could tell you one thing. I could answer here. I could go back to New Jersey, and I'll be received with open arms by a bunch of friends. Contrary to somebody in this dais, that if he goes back to their county, North Carolina, oh my goodness. And if you have any doubts, talk with the Pedestrians and a few other people. Thank you. That's all I have to say, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I need to
yes, Mr.
respond,
Danko.
sir. I'm sorry. Councilman Clufus, I might remind you that a couple weeks ago you were on a podcast from Ask Flagler where you spent the majority of your time just simply attacking me, accusing me of wanting to dip into the reserve fund. I didn't vote for that, sir. I voted against the budget. It was the mayor's idea. He was the one who wanted to dip into the reserve fund, and I might remind you, you went along with that and voted for it. You know, I took a picture. I wasn't posting anything on Facebook, all right? I take pictures occasionally up here from my own memory, my own collection. I just took a picture. Gee, there's no law against that. I've done it in the past. So you can't read my mind, Nick, all right? So stop putting words in my mouth. Stop accusing me of things I haven't done. Go back and listen to that podcast, all right? Because you spent a good 20 minutes just accusing me of a whole bunch of stuff. You know, the bottom line is I didn't vote for that. You did. The bottom line is I offered cuts. You somehow have the thoughts in your brain that you're smartest person sitting up here. You're like half our age, kid. All right? Maybe when you grow up someday, you'll learn a few things. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. I watched you make smirks at Victor while he was talking, make your little stupid faces, you know? And as far as Councilman Bertino goes, hey, Eddie, you know, I'd probably buy the plane ticket if you want to fly back. I'm just making a joke.
All right, I appreciate.
Just making a joke,
all right,
okay?
I appreciate everybody's.
I apologize for those comments, Councilman
I appreciate
Bertino.
everybody's
I apologize.
comments. What I'm looking for are comments which will move our agenda forward. We're not finished with the agenda yet. So at this point in time, I would ask the city manager, do you have any final comments for today's meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do. I have 3 items, if I may. The first is part of your agenda packet. It's the emergency and sole source purchases. So if you have any questions about that, now is the time. The second is that we do have 4 disturbances in the Atlantic Basin. I want to assure you that our emergency management partners are working closely with our staff to monitor that. And we are at the peak of hurricane season, so I would encourage anyone here today to grab a disaster preparedness guide before you leave. And my last is an item that I feel that we need to provide an update. Staff needs to provide an update today because of a disruption in the city with a road closure, and that's Royal Palms Parkway. I would just ask if our staff could come up and give us an update on that.
Very good, thank you. We still have an outstanding item on the agenda, which popped in at the last minute, I presume. Reporting of emergency and sole source purchases for August 2021.
And Mayor, just to clarify, there was a hint of this in a previous item, that this is a routine item that comes to you at the next meeting, which in the future, if the ordinance does change, if approved by council, it would come to you monthly. So this is a fairly routine item.
So is this something that we have to address? I'm confused.
No, only if you have questions about the items that's in your packet.
Does the council have any question on this item? No. Okay. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So I have the
I'm so
explaining
sorry.
about the Royal Palms.
Good morning, Carmelo Stormwater. So the update is regarding the Royal Palms closure. And just to give you a brief, very brief background as to what happened there was, we had hired a contractor through a bidding process to do a lining job. That pipe had previously been identified as a older pipe, rusted. It was not in great condition, so it was a remediation of this storm pipe. I'm talking about two 36-inch storm pipes, 125 foot long. They go in there, they line it, no disruption to the road. Part of the process is cleaning the roads out, cleaning the pipes out rather. And when that occurred last Wednesday, and they went to line it on Thursday, one of the pipes just completely gave in. So that was the last straw for the pipe. It's a shame because we were real close to finish it up. So when that happens, there is always the potential for a road failure. And I think if you guys go by now, I'm going to take some pictures I can share with you guys later on if you like. It's significantly dipping. If you have heavy traffic going through there, you have to close it. It's a public issue.
Just a quick question. Do we have a time limit for this thing to be concluded?
Yes, well, we're attacking it two ways. We're looking at it, doing it in-house versus getting a contractor. The in-house process seems to be moving a lot smoother. We have quotes, we have possible dates. We're looking at early October versus contractors that haven't quite gotten a price, much less a date. As you know, everybody is basically in the construction world. They can't pull out crews from current jobs, you know. But one way or the other, we're going to get it addressed as soon as possible. Right now, the only date I have is doing the in-house, and it's around maybe early October to get it done.
Well, we appreciate the update very much. Just a quick question top of mind. Do you know how old that pipe that gave was or when it was installed?
The as-built records there are not very clear, but most of the city's infrastructure, was, late 70s, early 80s, some of them early 70s. So we're probably talking about close to 40 years.
40 years, okay.
It's a metal pipe.
Just a curiosity, very
With
good.
water all the time.
Before that
That's-
100-year mark.
Exactly. And just a quick question, these weren't any of the pipes that we did the internal reblowing of the cement to reinforce? Okay, so this was
No,
just an
no.
existing pipe?
We actually did, on that road, we've already done two of the spin caster method. That's one you're talking about. We already lined two more of the regular method there.
Okay.
This one, we just couldn't get there quite in time. We missed by a few minutes maybe.
So let's just keep the residents informed on the progress. I understand that you don't have a finish line because it's moving right now a little bit, but if we keep them up to date on our progress, that would be worthwhile. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, could I have one last comment, please? One of my jobs, set forth in the charter, set forth in my contract, and set forth in your council rules and procedures, to act as the parliamentarian. And I'm to advise and assist the mayor in matters of parliamentary law. Normally, that job is very straightforward. Motions, seconds, discussion, where we are on the agenda, how we're supposed to conduct the agenda. But one of the things that a parliamentarian is to do is to assist the mayor. It's actually in your council. Is to assist the mayor in his role as the presiding officer. And one of the mayor's job is to call to order any member of the city council who violates any of the procedures set forth in your council rules. And when presiding, decide questions of orders, so on and so forth. And I think it's imperative that this council take a moment and consider this other rule of decorum that you have adopted and that you agreed when you took your job to abide by. Council members shall refrain from attacking a member's motives, speaking adversely on a prior motion not pending, speaking while the mayor or other city council members are speaking, and lastly, disturbing the city council. I take no pleasure in making these comments, but I would ask all of you to consider your responsibilities and the duties that you have undertaken in your role as city council member. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reichman.
With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn, if you have nothing else.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.